Ho, ho, ho. And welcome to a snooker podcast Christmas special with Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf from the Talking Snooker podcast, along with Jennie Bancroft and Chloe Johnson from the Wine Rack podcast. We are all gathered together, as you can hear, to talk about the game we all love.
We are party atmosphere today on the pod. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. If we've got to that stage yet while you're listening to this. And yeah, big communal treat we've got today. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let the listeners decide how much of a treat it is maybe at the end of it. We're certainly hoping it is, that's for sure. Compliments of the season, everyone. Great to have you tuning in. And a very Merry Christmas to you, Jennie and Chloe. Great to see you. Now, for our YouTube watchers, Jennie, you're particularly in the spirit of Christmas. The tree is glowing there in the background.
Yes. Pay attention to the tree, not the socks. It is a multifunctional room. Yes. Yes. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas.
And to you, Chloe, yeah. Was December the 25th kind to you? Just tell us the good bits.
Yeah. I ate a lot. That was pretty good. Always the highlight.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Got some vaguely snooker themed gifts, which was always good.
Go on.
You can't go
Lift
wrong.
the lid on that, please.
Come on, you've got to say more.
I mean vaguely. I think I got like a couple of them may have been AI generated, which I'm sort of side-eyeing people about, but one was it's a notebook that's got the Mona Lisa on it with a pool table in the background. So that combines my love of art history with my new love of snooker. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go with that. That's fine. And one's got a penguin on a snooker table, obviously. So yeah, they were very vague, very vague. Nothing sensible because I'd already bought all like the books that I wanted for myself and for other people. So
Lovely.
no plug for Dave, I'm afraid.
I did get a Ronnie O'Sullivan mug, which is my third now that I've been gifted. So it's a very rare day these days that I don't drink out of something with Ronnie's face on it. So building up an entire O'Sullivan crockery collection.
I'm not sure. I think about that, Phil, whether the drink would taste sweet or not. I've never done it. I mean, I'm a big coffee man. Maybe I'll try it out. It would put me off a bit, I think. I think I'm a bit too close to snooker in a way. What's your view?
I don't know. Maybe it'll be like Ronnie himself. You just don't know what mood it's going to come out in the mug. What's going to happen? Who knows?
True.
It could be delicious. It could be curdled. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And as you can see, we're not going to be entirely serious throughout this, folks. It's Christmas. Who wants to be all serious about snooker? But we are going to do a bit of that, aren't we? Because Phil, we haven't been on air since Scottish Open, and well, Chris Wakelin. I mean, we've been talking for so long, haven't we, about this new man, if you like, the new attitude, and what a wonderful player he is. He's proved it. You know, if it needed proving, beating Chan Bing-yu 9-2 in that final. I did a poll and about 70% were going for Chang. That's how we all felt. I think he was the rightful favourite. He'd beaten so many strong players, but Wakelin won 8 frames in a row from 2-1 down. He stormed to it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a washout the final, really. Chang had gone in the favourite with the bookies as well because he'd had an amazing run. Was it Maguire, C, Kyron, Selby, and Allen? I mean, it doesn't get that much harder than that. It's unbelievable stuff. Whereas Wakelin, he'd had one of those sort of magic runs. He didn't play someone in the top 16 the whole tournament. But you've got to take advantage of it when it comes, and he did just that. He sort of peaked when he really had to, and Chang sort of faltered on the biggest stage. That happens a lot. People's first final, no disgrace there. He's had a brilliant tournament. But yeah, delighted for Chris. Really good guy. It's been coming, hasn't it? He's been building slowly, but then at the same time, this is a bit out of the blue because since that Saudi and that semi in Saudi, he's not done much really. And he was saying now he's had a bit of a tough time of it off the table. So maybe he wasn't getting tipped by too many people that week in Scotland, but brilliant win for him. And back in the top 16, just annoyingly for him, not in time for the Masters. I think that sort of seems to happen every so often. Does it happen with Luca a couple of years ago? Where that cut-off being at the UK, it's just quite annoying for the person who comes in a bit afterwards. But I'm sure he won't mind. He's got 100 grand to console himself with at Christmas time, which is just about fine.
Yeah, yeah. Not to be.
What would you do with 100 grand at Christmas, Jennie? I wonder.
Well, I mean, a good chunk of it would probably go on wine, if we're being honest. The theme.
Not 99.5 grand, and you
Yeah,
probably
99 and a half grand.
waste the rest.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't even begin to imagine. It's like my brain can't calculate that many, can't compute that many zeros. It's too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot of shillings. But listen, you were at the tournament, so
Mm.
tell us about it. Because the general theme we got, if we have time, and let's face it, podcast is kind of a timeless format. We got some views in from Graham Walsh as well. What I'm
Mhm.
getting across is the people that have been there said actually it's getting a bit of a hard time. It's almost sort of passed through the snooker grapevine. Obviously, a leisure centre is not that glamorous, but
Mhm.
you, among many other people, saying actually it's not so bad when you get there.
No, no, it doesn't have a leisure centre feel, it has to be said. It's you go in and it does you have to go through like turnstiles as if you were going into the gym, with a card. Obviously you just get let through. But that's a bit weird. But then once you're upstairs where they've taken over an entire floor, so you've got like the big room where everything goes on, and then you've got the queue zone, and obviously they've got the fun backstage bit. When you're up there, it just feels like any other tournament in a way. It's all snooker. Everyone around you is snooker. You can't hear a squash court, or you can't smell chlorine. I don't think there is a pool there, but it's got a feeling of a sports centre rather than a leisure centre, if that makes sense. So it feels very focused in on sport in general. And yeah, it was like it's comfortable, it's easy to get to as well. It's a short-ish walk if you're a walker from the city centre. But one thing about Edinburgh, although it's very expensive, it's really well connected in terms of public transport. So many buses will take you directly to the leisure centre. So yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was much better than I was expecting it to be. Um, so yeah, thumbs up from me. Big thumbs up.
And seats always need a review. How are they?
So, as a big bottom lass, they were all right. They were okay, I have to say. Not as bad as Bolton. Bolton's been the worst so far, Chloe and I have found. The temporary seating that they dragged in there was pretty terrible. This was kind of similar, but I think there was just a little bit more room, a little bit more leg room, a little bit more width to the seats. So yeah, it wasn't bad actually. We were in like the central block at the back, and we were kind of in the middle for the semi-finals, and then at the edge for the finals. And yeah, it was good. And my brother, who is 6 foot something, he was fine as well with his long legs. So yeah, decent seats, decent seats. Wouldn't want to be there for a best of 19, like a best of no, I was there for a best of 19. I wouldn't want to be there for multiple sessions, but like 2 sessions in a day is bearable. Put it that
I
way.
noticed that the tables got no comment at all, which usually means they're playing very
Mm,
well. They only really get
Yeah.
a mention when they're getting slagged off, so that's a
yeah,
good thing as well.
yeah,
Probably, like you said, no pool in adjacent, so that's
it
good
does
news.
help. Yeah.
Well, another sort of narrative is that coming through, from a few people, that it's not the ideal slot in a way because the crowds weren't too big.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing is, I think I was saying on Radio Snooker, in some ways you think, oh, it fits in lovely with a sort of Christmas spirit and it's another thing to do in festive time. But I suppose in reality, we've all kind of got busy lives in December, haven't we? We're forever
Mm,
going to this do or that do, or,
yeah.
trying to sort out presents and what have you. So, I mean, obviously, like most tournaments, so Jenny, we'll come to you in a minute, Chloe, about crowds as well. But I think, Jenny, just to say, the crowds did get bigger, but at times they were thin on the ground, and people saying you got to play the Scottish Open sometimes. Maybe they're the unlucky ones to get that Christmas
Mhm.
slot.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think, as you say, it was much better for the final. Final was almost packed out, really, and the
Mm.
semi-finals were both pretty well attended. I was surprised in a way that Mark Allen and Chris Wakelin, they had the smaller crowd in the evening. I would have expected more people
Mm.
then, but it seemed a bit emptier, and it was quite full for. No, it was Chris. Sorry, that was Chang. Chris Wakelin versus. It's been a month. I tell you that. It's been a long month. So yeah, the afternoon semi was fuller. But
Yeah.
no, I think one thing I was thinking was, we're quite fortunate with my brother living over there that we went to stay. We made kind of a thing of it, actually going to see him at Christmas and spending time together with him and my sister-in-law. But if you're just visiting, Edinburgh's a really expensive city at the best of times, and it's even more so
Mm.
really around Christmas. It's Christmas and August with with the Fringe. Those are the two times you don't really want to visit Edinburgh. And so I think that won't help because you're relying then on local traffic kind of coming in. You're relying on people who live in Edinburgh or live near Edinburgh and want to travel in again at one of the busiest times of year for that city. So it's a tricky one. I would, and I think you can come to Chloe on this one as well because she made the
Yeah.
point that either go out on a bang with like the big UK's kind of finishing off in the UK champs, or go out on something really silly like the shootout, which has the kind of Christmas party vibe anyway. And so just go out on that instead of sort of a fizzle, which is what I think the Scottish Open is, even though it's a good tournament and it does have the support, but it definitely felt after two kind of massive tournaments in their own way, you feel like this is a real come down and not necessarily in a good way. It's more of a letdown. So that's my thinking on it.
What do you think, Chloe? Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so. Because I think, there has been a history in the last few years, certainly, of the Scottish Open doesn't really attract the bigger names. You get
Mm.
maybe, a smattering from the top 16. A lot of them just swerve it. A lot of them drop it at the last minute. And I think, it kind of the end of the season that everyone wants is either a big tournament like the UK's, go out with a bang, or just a bit of fun. I think that if that was the end of the season, you'd attract like bigger names. And it always kind of feels like a bit of a letdown when it's the last event of the season. It should be a bit of a celebration, should be a bit of a jolly, and you kind of haven't got the turnout for it on the player front anyway.
Mm.
I saw an
And
interesting post from Anthony McGill. I don't know if you saw that on his Facebook. He started a Facebook quite recently. He's quite good on it. But he was complaining that the Scottish crowd weren't getting behind the Scottish players enough. And he was saying
no,
you go to other sort of local events
I see
and
that.
you feel like the Welsh crowd get behind the Welsh players, or
Mm.
specifically in Belfast getting behind like Mark and Jordan and Robbie McGuigan. And he said, "Oh, it felt like any other event to him." And he was yeah, he was quite frustrated by it, sounded like. But
No.
obviously, if he'd gone a bit deeper, I'm sure that would have changed. But it's good because he's one of these players we don't hear from that often. He's not that keen on doing the media, but when he does speak to people, he's really interesting. So yeah, give
Mm.
him a follow on social media now.
Mm.
He's good on there.
Will do. Will do.
Oh, I'd entirely missed that. That's a very interesting line from Anton. Yeah, we have sort of delivered vague promises. We might try and get him on the air one day, Phil, because you're right. Every time I see Anthony McGill or hear from him anything, he always sort of cracks a funny that makes me laugh. I think, oh, that's he's got that sort of great dry wit, and he has that sort of face to him that says, "I'm not going to say something funny," but then he sort of does. He surprises you. He's yeah, not nice lad. I thought. Let's go to Graham Walsh actually, because he's backing up a lot of what you said, Jenny. He says, "Hello, Phil and Nick. I've just had my first live experience at the Scottish Open at the Meadowbank Sports Complex in Edinburgh. I only attended for the one table setup, so I can't comment on the early rounds. However, I found the venue to be much better than I've been led to believe. It's only a half-hour walk or a short bus ride from the centre of the city, so you can enjoy the magic of Edinburgh at Christmas without feeling rushed. The arena itself is large with fairly comfortable seating. It feels relaxed and inclusive, having the TNT presenters either on the floor or on the adjacent stage from where the live audience can hear the chat. The room itself delivers the perfect level of tension and excitement during the play. The main downside is that there's only one exit. It can be a scramble to complete the mid-session comfort break in good time. The Q zone area is bright and airy. The bar and cafe in that room are makeshift, but they just about do the job. Yes, the venue is used for other sports. A Hibs v Celtic women's football match was taking place in the adjacent stadium on the Sunday. This, I think, makes the Scottish Open feel like something bigger in the city, a part of the Edinburgh sporting world. That's a really nice point, I think.
Mm.
The snooker takes place on the second floor, completely dedicated to the event. You're not rubbing shoulders with gym goers, so once you're in there, you can immerse yourself in the world of bays. It would be interesting to know how the players find it. I imagine the practice rooms are spacious compared to some of the theatre venues, like the Crucible or the Barbican. Overall, I really enjoyed my time there and hope to return. Congratulations to Chris Wakelin, the champion. He really showed his experience and ability in the final. efficiently capitalizing on Chang's errors. Perhaps his lack of expectation helped him. Graham. Yeah, so backing up your views there very much, Jenny. And on the general point, I like quite like the expectation thing there as well, because almost most people were thinking Chris is a smashing player. He's second favourite here. That can only be a help. He's going in there almost with a little bit of that pressure that he would naturally feel having never won a sort of bona fide ranking event. It's taking off him a bit, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's he came out looking confident. And although we did think after the first half session when it went 2-2, we were like, oh, it's going to be close. We're thinking, oh, it's going to be a really late night. And then he found a gear. Not that he outplayed Chang necessarily, but I think that was right, that it was experience that showed. You could tell that Chris has been around the block a couple of times. He knows what it's like to be in a final. He knows that pressure, and it's not quite as pressurized as some of the other ranking finals might be. You know, it is a fairly low key event, like we're saying, and that as frustrating as it can be, as we've said, with sort of feeling like a bit of a fizzle, it does give maybe a little bit of space for some players to actually kind of break the seal, as it were, and make that step from being in a final to being a champion. It can maybe make the difference because, as well as like you say, if you're the second favorite going in, you know, based on all of the polls, everyone was like, yeah, Chang's just going to walk it. Let's just give him the trophy now. And then combine that with a slightly less pressurized tournament overall, it does give you that opportunity to maybe shine in a way that you couldn't under brighter lights.
I do like the sort of the quirky nature of what the Scottish Open's become
Mm,
as like a proper snooker nerd, where you get to see these unusual finals
yeah.
where you've had O'Connor and Noppon, and now
Mm,
this one, no one was tipping this as a final. Gary Wilson obviously winning back to back. It's become sort of a tournament for people to have a run where you wouldn't necessarily expect and see
mm,
some faces on the one table setup that you don't always expect to see. So I think I really like that as part of it, but obviously sort of in a wider sense of trying to sell the tournament. That's
mm,
not necessarily what's going to sell it to a bigger audience. But in
yeah.
terms of just in terms of people who probably listen to this podcast, I think it's quite a good thing when you get to see these
Mm.
guys have their moment in the sun or the Scottish summer, winter, sorry.
I mean, same thing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, as you rightly teed up earlier, a ridiculously good run from Chang. As much as we
Mm,
say, let's not make that mistake, that we'll continue to make until the final day we ever watch snooker. That, oh, the guy playing well throughout the tournament, he's probably going to win the final. Saturdays and Sundays can be totally different. Despite that, that was a hell of a run. Of course,
mm,
Chang returning to the game, he was banned after fixing a match. He was part of the match fixing scandal, but trying to make up for lost time on the table, and he's certainly impressed with those performances. But Wakelin got the job done. Bit of an aside as well, but quite a big aside, I think, Chloe, that Leo Scullion retired as a referee. Brian McGovern writes to us and says, "Hi, Nick and Phil. Happy Christmas to you both. Wishing Leo Scullion all the best in his retirement. It's special that his last frame was a century. I hadn't really thought of that. Best
mm,
wishes, Brian. Nice touch there." And I know we say this, Chloe, about the snooker community. I know sometimes we can lay it on a bit thick, but referees are really part of that, aren't they? When you see them around and about an event, and frankly, having known him for a lot of years now, Leo's one of the friendliest guys and friendliest faces around at events.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I mean, I don't think you'll find a snooker fan in the land who doesn't have a favorite referee as well as a favorite player. Um, we can't always tell you why we're drawn to particular referees. You know, everyone's got their short list, and Leo's just been one of those faces for a long, long time. Just reassuring. You're like, oh, there's Leo. Everything's going to be all right. You know, when he walks out in front of the players, you just think everything's in good hands.
yeah, yeah. And he's
That's
local to us. It
Mm.
transpires. He's Ayrshire,
Oh
and we're
yes, he was
both
trying
in
to say
Ayrshire.
just a few weeks
So
ago.
yeah, so we might see him sunning himself on the Ayrshire Riviera. You never know.
Huh?
lovely mention of the Ayrshire Riviera there. He, I don't know exactly what Leo's going to do, but whatever it is, I know he'll be in and around snooker. That's my prediction. It's not going to
Yeah,
be like, oh, we're not going to see Leo anymore. I'm sure there'll be roles for him,
Yes,
Philly. He's great value, isn't he,
hopefully.
Phil?
Oh, lovely man. Yeah, I've only ever had really nice interactions with Leo. Really
mm,
nice guy. I think he's staying around as like a ref assessor, so to help the young
Assessor.
guys come through,
that'd be good.
which is no surprise at all, as you say.
Mm.
Yeah, no, he's seen it all. He's been going for a long time and been doing a great job. And as I say, just more importantly, just a real nice guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll be missed, but as you say, he'll be around still.
Yeah.
Exactly, decades in the business, and a bit of a plug for me. Of course, he did that world final in 19, and he talked to me about it early this year when I saw him at the Tour Championship in Manchester. That's on Radio Snooker, and it sort of reminded me, because I remember being there. I know you were there too, Phil, for that 19 final, and of course, we rightly remember the playing first and foremost, and always will. And that was that incredible performance from Judd Trump, who just blitzed John Higgins and won the title with just one of the most virtuoso displays you can imagine. But
Mm.
when Leah was talking to me, I sort of in mind's eye, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. He did get an incredible reception. The Sheffield crowd, absolute roars.
Mm.
Only slightly less of a roar than the players on that first day. I always remember that. So it's a nice thing to remember. But, talking about remembering things at the end of the year, you just think, wow, it's a good time to assess. I've been writing my various reviews and talking about the year in general elsewhere, and just so many memories. It's remarkable. And we always say, Phil, was the Masters really this same year when you come to the end of it? Because it's so long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And you were reminding me, Phil, of course. I mean, we'll come to a brilliant victory for Shaun Murphy there and how wonderful he was. But of course, it started in chaotic fashion, in the snooker world generally, with Ronnie O'Sullivan snapping his cue and chucking it in the bin.
Mm.
That's what I found. That's what I thought about doing after the Tony Mio.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When you see sort of them squeezing in some Invitational Championship League between Christmas and the Masters, and you think, why have they done that?
Yeah.
And well, that's why. You've got to get some carnage in there. You've got to get Ronnie in there, losing his head a bit, snapping his cue and chuck it in the bin. Yeah, that was mad. And then he pulled out the Masters 2 days before it started when he was going to play John Higgins. Everyone's excited about that. And yeah, not happening. And then he turned up and was just punditing on it. So you, you never know what to expect from Ronnie Deer. I was actually at that Championship League the day before it happened, so slightly
Oh, I
poor
forgot
timing.
that.
But yeah, so I saw Ronnie then, and he did sort of seem like a bloke who didn't want to be there. But then I
Mm.
thought, well, it is the Championship League in Leicester.
Yeah.
Like he probably doesn't want to
Who
be there.
does? Yeah.
But but I also thought there's no one making him be here. He didn't have to. So I think that sort of said something that
Mm.
he was really trying to get his game in shape, and he really wanted to, and that was genuinely like super frustration that ended up in what happened there,
Mm.
snapping that cue that he'd won. He'd had it for a long time, hadn't he? He'd won world titles with it, so that's a real shame. Um, and then yeah, we didn't really see him for a long time after that. But yeah, it was that start to the Masters was. Whether he's there or not, he's grabbing the headlines, and that was certainly the case from not being there that time.
Mm.
Absolutely. And then not getting a maximum and getting a maximum, Sean, winning the thing. I mean, Jenny, he was just, absolutely exhilarating that week. And we had a little bit of controversy about the speech that some people thought was okay and some people thought wasn't. And then later in the year, we found out there was maybe a bit more beat to it than we thought,
Yeah.
with those words from Cohen after being beaten. But yeah, when Murphy gets on a roll, he's hard to stop.
He is. He is. Yeah, you've thrown over to like the chairman of the Murphy anti-fan club. Uh, or co-chair, I should say, because
I
Chloe is,
know,
is,
I
is there as
know.
well. But
I didn't want to go to Phil twice in a row. I thought, yeah, I've heard you before.
it's
You're
like,
not.
oh dang, no,
Well,
but
he's a Marmite figure, isn't he? And you're not in the liking Marmite camp on this one.
we're not, no. But and we said this when if anyone of your listeners follows us on social media, they may have spotted our silly little chocolate advent calendar where we were assigning various chocolates to various snooker players, and Shaun
It was
Murphy ended
very
up being.
enjoyable. That was a good festive treat.
Thank you.
That.
No, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Bill. And we assigned Shaun the bounty as a similar sort of Marmite figure. But there is, yeah, we said it there that he is a good player, and this is we say unfortunately, but it is good for the game. It's good for the game to have people like him that can surprise you because he's not maybe as consistent as some of his contemporaries. I wouldn't rank him as highly as like Mark and Neil. Selby and Robertson, I'd put them much higher in terms of caliber. But
Mm.
as you say, when he gets on a roll, he is kind of unstoppable, for better or worse. But no, that was a very impressive victory, particularly because Kyron had come into that being kind of a form player. He was on a roll from his Worlds win, and I think I didn't see much wrong with his speech personally. I didn't listen to it live. I watched it as a replay, but for me, it didn't. It wasn't as bad as people seem to be making it out to be. It was a bit like, the Edinburgh venue. It's not as bad as you're making it out to be. People are just looking for some drama, which is fine. But yes, as you say, there was evidently some sort of backstage needle that had come into it as well.
Journalists looking for drama, Phil. That's an outrageous accusation. I won't have it at Christmas or any time. There was a bit of
They
that.
just like chuck it in your lap sometimes. I'd forgotten about that at the Worlds, wasn't it? It was just before the World started
Yeah.
when this sort of mystery beef emerged between Wilson and Murphy, and they wouldn't tell us what it was.
No.
And we still don't really know what it was. It's just something
No.
that happened in the practice room.
Yeah.
Very, very confusing stuff.
Strange. Very strange.
One day we're going to get a list together of things that are quite big around the start of the World Championship and in that first week, and then sort of you never really get an ending. If you like closure, this is the wrong sport for you.
Yeah,
Because the number of crucible dramas. Look, I think this one was we're going to have a coffee to talk about it, and then it sort of just went. There's been quite a lot of those over the years, but it was a brilliant success. And Chloe, on to Kyron Wilson then, in terms of just his season generally. I made my first visit to the Temperature. I absolutely loved it for the German Masters. That was one of the finals of this calendar year for sure. He beat Barry Hawkins 10-9. But generally for, ranking event wins, why do you think Kyron found himself particularly suited to being world champions when, not that they all struggle, but many of them do find it a little overwhelming at times and very hard the season after?
Well, it's a bit of a tricky one, that. I would say a lot of it is down to his partnership with his brother Taylor. They work really well. Taylor is really good at that kind of the side of things of public relations. And I think Kyron just is up for a bit of anything. I think, oh gosh.
We did
Yeah,
say
just-
it's not hard, is it, Chloe, when you're following Luca, who seemed to really shy away from it
Well,
and was brilliant. Yeah, Kyron threw himself into
our
it.
personal biases coming into play again. But I think it's just the kind of person he is. He was, he was the kind of person who he knew his luck was going to change. Not that he was having a terrible career up until that point, but he was plodding along, winning bits here and there, and then this came along, and he wasn't going to be the kind of person to shy away from it. He was just going to jump in with both feet and just absolutely make the most of it, and that's what he did.
Yeah, Phil. I mean, I know we said it before, Phil, but I felt there was this is only my personal view. There was a little bit too much of the Kyron's got an entirely new personality. He's trying to be something he's not. It's like, well, really sure about that. I mean, that was the weekend where he did a bit of that old tour business and came out and made a big. I've forgotten what song he came out to, but I remember because I was there. He got punters to vote for different songs for and I mean. I really didn't have an issue with that. I mean, if he wasn't doing that, we'd be saying, "Oh, come on, show us more of your personality, mate." Him or someone else, if you know what I mean. And sometimes snooker players feel we're the greatest win in the world, and we're all guilty of this. We're the ones that put pressure on them at times, whoever we are in the media or fans. They can't win, can they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Kyron's always been a bit like that. When was he at the shootout and he was coming out wearing an oven glove? I can't remember even why. I don't really remember what the gag was, but he was doing daft stuff like this before. I suppose it's just because he's world champion, he gets more attention because of it. But I think he's always him and Taylor. They're trying to do stuff. They're trying to build a profile for them, and generally, I believe them when they say the sport in general. Like they're trying to create things, and it's good. Yeah, you don't have to like it to sort of. You don't have to like specific ideas to appreciate what they're trying to do in general. Like if you don't like I can't remember what song it was either, but you don't have to love that song to say like, oh, well done, you're having a go and get the crowd involved. And you were there. I'm sure it was a great atmosphere. It looked brilliant.
It was.
And you can't argue with it when he backs it up as well, because that was the one where he ended that Masters speech with, "I'm going to go and smash it in Germany," and then to go and win the next tournament in a great final. I mean, you can do pretty much what you want if you're going to back up claims like that.
Was it Rock DJ? I feel like Rock DJ by Robbie Williams. Did he come
Rock
after that?
DJ? It might have been. Phil, sorry.
Might not be. I might be
I
misremembering
can't
that
remember.
entirely. Yeah.
And see, the thing is, I think, people say that oh, that's put on, that's forced. But I think if Kyron wasn't a snooker world champion and he wasn't doing that in tournaments in front of thousands of people, he'd be doing that down his local on a Friday night.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in fact, he does make the point. Him and his brother, they do go the nights out with the lads, don't they, in Kettering and what have you, and play Skittles nights or whatever it is. They make a big point of that. Well, it's like all snooker. It's like not every single one, but an awful lot of snooker players. They are the ordinary man and woman on the street in the nicest possible way, which is one of the great things about this sport. Phil, I'm about to say we haven't discussed it. We haven't discussed anything, of course, but I think we should have a normal little pause at this stage. We've done about half an hour, and say you are listening to a snooker podcast Christmas special here with the Talking Snooker and Wine Rack podcast on duty, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Ad break.
Welcome back, folks. Where have you been? we move on. Whistle stop year, and we're not going to go through every one, of course. We'll be here till Michaelmas, but we've got to talk about John Higgins. I mean, that was quite something. Winning the World Open, his first ranking tournament success for 4 years, and then another tournament we were both actually, Phil. I'm not sure if you ladies were. I can't remember now. The Tour Championship in Manchester, but
We were, yeah.
Oh, you were. Oh,
Yeah.
great stuff. So
I'd
we were
forgotten, but
all
we
there.
were.
Yeah, we were all at that one, isn't it? I mean, listen, we all sing from the same hymn sheet, I'm sure. Those city centre venues where you just pop out and go for a little drink, but they're great, aren't they, Jenny? They're special, those places.
They are, yeah. And I think Manchester Central is such a good one as well because you're so well catered for within the venue itself that you don't need to leave if you don't want to or if you've only got a short period of time. But it's so easy to get to and from. Again, Manchester, much like Edinburgh, really well served by all of its public transport. I'm sure the people that live there would have plenty of complaints, but as a visitor, it works just
Yeah.
fine. It's brilliant. Yeah, we really like Manchester Central. It's somewhere that I think, as long as there's a tournament there, we'll probably try and get to a couple of days. We've said that that this year we'll probably be down there at some point again as well. We might splash out on the Midland. You never know. Make
Oh,
make
yeah.
a real weekend of it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it there.
I know what you mean, though. It's sort of like, I mean, Phil, I know you're a massive fan as well. You do feel like you're going to try and make an effort to get there. I mean, obviously, I'm in London. It's a couple of hours on the Rattler, but if you get a good deal, it's okay. Frankly, you get it in advance, and when you get those, and it helps. It's a great tournament with the best players in the game, but when you get those venues, it does kind of entice you to go that wee bit more, eh?
Oh, definitely, yeah. As soon as he went to Manchester, it was such an obvious win. And it's been there a couple of years, maybe 3 years now.
I
Not
think
long.
two.
But it
Yeah.
feels like it's found just an instant hit, instant home. And yeah, it's sort of a go-to event now and a great build-up just for the Worlds. Yeah, I mean it was one of the best tournaments anyway, the Tour Championship. But
Mm,
to get the venue's great, the city's great. I absolutely love Manchester.
mm.
So yeah, no, it's win-win-win. And that final especially was brilliant.
Mm.
A real classic, really, between those two.
Yeah.
And Higgins was absolutely buzzing at the end of that. Said there's been a fair bit of this year actually. Neil doing it in Saudi as well, declaring it his best ever win. When a lot of people are like, "What is it?" But
Yeah.
it's what they felt at the time. So fair enough.
Yeah, I put it down partly to the emotion, but listen,
Yeah.
it certainly showed how much it meant to him. And how did John Higgins, Chloe, go 4 years? That's the thing. We're all like, wow, because it wasn't like, he was getting to last 16s, occasional quarters, so many finals. He just couldn't get over the line. It feels barking mad it was 4 years. For him to bounce back and win that double in the spring was, I think, something that snooker people everywhere, just delighted in.
Yeah, it feels so normal, it feels so natural to see him winning, just to see him lifting trophies. You kind of I almost didn't notice the time that it'd been. It's just one of those things in the back of your head. You just assume, well, John Higgins must have won something recently because he usually has. And yeah, and just it's kind of before you know it, that time had passed, and it's like, wow, how did we get here? And there was no real discernible dip in quality. You couldn't say, oh, he really played a shocker. There's going to be a stink of a match every now and again. Everyone has them, but there wasn't any really period of time where you could say, no, John Higgins really isn't playing very well. He was playing at John Higgins level, but
Yeah,
it just wasn't giving up the goods.
Mhm.
Yeah, there
absolutely.
was just that concern where he's losing those big leads a few years ago, wasn't he? And it
Mm.
was like you could actually
Yeah.
just see it in his face about when it got to
Yeah.
that part of finals. It was quite hard to watch, but and
Oh,
that even happened in the World Open, didn't he? When he very nearly messed up that semi against Zach Surety. And I think
oh
if
yeah,
Zach really should have won that,
yeah.
and I think if Zach had won that, I don't know if John might have been the end. Like he
Yeah.
may really have got a spiral from there.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact he just sort of scraped over the line and then beat Joe O'Connor in the final relatively comfortably. Um, and then that because he'd done that just about, that's why he was so brilliant in Manchester.
Mhm.
So yeah, these little turning points, even so long in such a brilliant career, things can still have little turning points like that, can't they?
Mhm. Mhm.
You're absolutely right, and y- we'll never know, obviously, but you'd lay good money on if he doesn't win that tournament, the World Open. He's not winning in Manchester. That's
Yeah.
just the way snooker is. He's
Mhm.
not winning something as big as Manchester. Even if he's getting in the final at John against Selby, he's losing that final. I would say because he hasn't got that belief of doing it. And so much of sport in this sport in particular, most of them, but certainly this one, it's in their head.
Mhm.
And then, well, we all made the pilgrimage, didn't we? And this is where I think you should take a bit of centre stage, Jenny, certainly for a period, because of course you famously were not just at the Crucible for, you know, one or two matches, a couple of days. You were there for what can only be described as your own personal marathon. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us how it happened and just what on earth that experience was like again.
So it was a competition. It was called the Midnight Marathon, run by the sponsor, Midnight. They wanted someone to be there for every match, every session, and unofficially set a record, I think, for someone watching the most snooker. So I was positioned so I could see both tables during the two table setup, and then obviously when the one table came, that was I had a great aerial, almost aerial view from kind of near the back, which is actually a much better view than you think it's going to be. Uh, yeah, so I happened to win that. It was a very straightforward, comment on this social media post, and we'll pick some people, and then we'll decide on a winner. And they decided on me, which was lovely. They looked after me very well, put me up, room and board, and paid travel and all that jazz. So I was very well looked after for 2 weeks. I have a very understanding boss that allowed me to do severely limited hours.
Yeah,
Made that up to her over Christmas, which is our busy period, so that was fine. Yeah, so it was incredible. It was exhausting.
I bet it
And
was.
the knees have just about recovered. I was sat in front of, or rather, I was sat behind one of the sort of metal barriers that stands behind where the wheelchair users often go in the Crucible. There's sort of metal reinforcement barriers there, so my knees hit the middle of one of those for the majority. So that was a bit interesting. But no, everyone was great. I got a chance to sort of meet some of the crew, the backstage crew on like security and everything, and they were all lovely. And the Midnight guys and their sort of press team were really, really lovely. So the only downside was I couldn't enter that win a maximum win. What was it, 100 grand if you're there for a maximum? I wasn't allowed to
Yeah.
enter that, so that was a downside. But apart from
Forgot
that,
about that. Someone won it, didn't they? Because Alan got
yeah, they
it.
did.
I don't
Yeah,
think it was as
because
much as
Mark.
100, but it was a sizable.
It was a
It was
sizable
worth winning.
chunk, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it was 10 grand or something you could win.
Yeah,
can't
Yeah.
I think it
remember.
was a bloke. It was his 80th birthday or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the
Hmm.
first time he'd been at live snooker, and he happened to be there when a maximum got made, and it was his seat, and yeah, yeah, it was super. That was fun to experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gutted that I couldn't go in for the big prize.
How did it work in terms of? I mean, obviously you want to be in as much snooker as you can, but I would imagine the odd session on that run you didn't actually really fancy going in. You might want the odd one off. Did you have to go in?
I did. So they said to me, I very nearly missed the second morning, like the second day, because I was just so shattered already from the traveling and everything. But I went and I was glad I did because they said, "Oh, good. Like if you do need to miss one, you have to let us know. Obviously, that's fine. It wasn't a condition that I had to be in every one, but they essentially they were like, ideally, you're going to be there the whole time." and we will make an exception if need be. There were definitely a few. I can't remember who it was, but there were a couple of first round matches that were very,
Go on,
very...
tell us who it was.
I genuinely can't remember. I genuinely can't. I think
Zhang Anda, wasn't it?
yes, I think it was Zhang Anda's first round match. They were so slow. They were
Yeah.
so slow. I was sat there like, how long, guys? How long is this going to take? And of course, I did get the joy kind of midway through where a match ended a session early, so I got to watch the recreation of the Blackpool final,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
which I probably could have skipped, but I was like, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to see that again because if they don't bring it up this way, if I had to buy a ticket for it, I might not do that. But if it's free and it's happening, I may as well. And that was
And
good
that's
fun.
better than Zhang Anda against Pang Junzhu was for
It
sure.
it was, yeah. They were bless them, bless them. They were very slow. It was exhausting. Yeah, no, but amazing. So I think they're running the competition again. So keep an eye on Midnight's social media, everyone, and you too could be suffering with your knees.
Well, the thing about Sheffield is it takes over our lives, isn't it, Phil? Those of us that love this sport. I mean, it's a month now. It's the qualifying, it's the tournament, and it's about a week either side. I ought to say, so for about 6 weeks, basically, we do live and breathe that championship, and it's extraordinary. It's a great addition. I mean, Kyron Wilson out on day one, of course. An absolutely wonderful match between Williams and Higgins, two of the members of the class of '92 that I'll always remember. Wasn't actually in the arena, but it was one of the best atmospheres I've ever known in and around the Crucible Hub, if you like, in the pubs, and just a very memorable lunchtime. And of course, Zhao Xintong winning the world title. Flag a good piece up from David Hendon on the TNT Sports website, talking about the future of snooker now belonging to China and the UK being left behind. He was saying that that image of Zhao with the Chinese flag was a bit like the stars and stripes being planted on the moon. It had that symbolic thing in this sport. And well, we know about the timing of it. Of course, it came so soon after Zhao's own ban from the sport, but on the table, I mean, to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan, Mark Williams, and comfortably to win the title was just a top effort. And the final was, I think, Phil, was a little bit disappointing until the late Williams burst. It never really caught fire, did it? Can't always have great finals, of course, but Zhao was just basically a very good winner of that match.
Yeah, he sort of none of his games were really that memorable because he was winning them quite easily. Even the one that
Mm.
he didn't really play
Mm.
well in at all, which was the quarter final, he won the easiest because Wakelin was absolutely appalling in that because he'd really
Oh
run his
yeah.
race. He
Yeah.
had those two amazing wins against Robertson and Allen,
Mm.
and then that was that was the only match I actually went into the arena to watch that whole time was a session of Wakelin against Zhao, and it was garbage. But Zhao the rest of the time. Yeah, he was just far too good for everyone, and it was funny because I've heard other people say this, and I get what they're saying. They were like the draw just worked out well for him, and it's strange to
Mm.
say playing Ronnie O'Sullivan in the semis and Mark Williams in the final. That sounds really, really hard. But Ronnie was had sort of fallen apart by then,
Yeah.
and Williams was just gone after that late win over Trump in the semi. That sort of taken it out of him so much that he didn't really turn up until, like you say, that late burst. So it is very strange to say playing those two in the two longest matches in the sport was a good result, but it was for him really, and he just won it at a canter. His hardest matches really were those two in the qualifiers against Long Zhihang and Slesser.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, no, a very deserving winner, but it was almost just forgettable games for him really. That's why I think when people were saying that was like a real classic edition of the tournament, it was a good one. It just didn't
Mm.
quite tick the all the boxes for me, just because Zhao seemed to sort of just stroll there without having
Mm.
any memorable
Mm.
battles along the way. So that's where it just fell off a little bit in my eyes.
Mm. That's a good way of saying it. I mean, Ronnie O'Sullivan, we thought he was off it, but with hindsight, I think with the months forward and how much more comfortable he was seeming to be in his own skin, frankly, and Ronnie in that much nicer, relaxed frame of mind, I think, towards the latter part of the year, he was all over the place in the spring, really, Jenny, wasn't he? And I think we'll always look back on his triumphs when his career finishes mostly, but I thought it said a lot, that Ronnie could still get to one table, being as out of sorts as he was, kind of with his
Yeah.
snooker, and I think also frankly, with how he was feeling in himself.
Mm. Yeah, no, I would agree. I remember the she's become a good friend now, but the lady I sat next to on the very first day got chatting to she knew our podcast, which was a shock. I was like, oh, there's people we're not related to listen to us. That's amazing. And she was saying she's a big Ronnie fan as well. So she was like, the thing we have to think with Ronnie is the win is if he gets to his chair in his first match, because she's a psychologist. And we both had this feeling of like, this is a tough thing for him that he's been away from the limelight. There's been a lot going on kind of personally and professionally that has maybe created some turmoil. So we both said, look, if he can make it to his chair and sit down and not bolt, then that's a win. And we kept having to remind ourselves that we'd said that because he kept then winning. And we were like, oh, he's got to win. He's got to win. And then we said, nope, nope, dial it back. He's already won because he turned up. He turned up and he played. That he sent Ali Carter home in a body bag was just like a plus for those of us who are Ronnie fans. So yeah, I think he is. We are going to look back on him a bit like we look back on Alex Higgins. You know, he's that slightly rogue, changeable, mercurial figure, but a great. And yet, like you say, I think that's going to stand up more than anything is just how great a player he is, that he can have that very tumultuous start to the year and still come and make it to a world semi-final. That's very few other players could do that, I think.
That's a brilliant summation, I think. But all that business about him messing about and changing his ferrule and all that business, Chloe, that was all tied up with him just not doing the right things, I think, is probably a fair way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie has a habit of, I think, I mean, from a layman's point of view, obviously, but I think he has a habit of trying to fix. He thinks that if he fixes material things, then non-material things will therefore, by that process, become fixed. And instead of doing the introspection and the actual psychological work that clearly needs to be done inside his head, to address the real issues that he's facing. I think if he thinks that if he does things like changes ferrule, changes tip, changes cueing action, get a new coach, all of these things, this has somehow fixed it. And I don't think he's quite got to the point yet where he needs to realise that none of those things are the issue and that he needs to address the actual issue. If that's
There
not
was
too
a whole lot of feral chat, wasn't there? More feral
yes.
chats than I was
Oh
prepared
God.
for during that World Championship.
It's not quite as not quite as bad as the Welsh a couple of years previous when with Tipgate.
Oh,
But yes,
Tipgate, yeah.
Gate was almost as bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The word feral starts to lose all meaning if it had such to begin with. It does. You're like, oh,
There was a bit, I remember this now, during, I think it was the first game against Carter. And it was it Steve Davis and Karen Wilson? I say I remembered it. I can't remember anything.
Oh, it was.
I
That was
think it was
ridiculous.
Davis and Wilson in the studio on the BBC. And I remember thinking, this is Ronnie O'Sullivan on the BBC. It's as big a snooker audience as you're going to get all year, really. And they spent every break talking about his ferrule and what material it was made of and whether he changed it or not. I was like, this is not how you're attracting these new fans into the sport. They're all turning it off in droves with his feral chat.
That was brilliant. More feral chat than I was prepared for. That is brilliant. What a
that's the
line.
tagline. Yeah.
And I have to say, you know, on the Wine Rack podcast, you get these brilliant, illuminating chats from you both, that delve into sort of very intelligent areas of the game, I think. And, that makes it a very nice listen. But you can get the wine out, by the way. Just because you're with us, you don't seem to at the moment. Is that
I've had a glass. It looks like
you've got a glass. Yes.
I
Jenny's
have
got
had...
some on the go. I am not on the wine. I have a story. It's not a wild story, but I have some inflammation in my lower back, which is pressing on a nerve, as a result of which I cannot feel one half of one of my thighs.
Oh no!
So I'm on quite a lot of painkillers and
bad.
anti-inflammatories.
So wine with that. So you
No,
drink
probably not
responsibly,
the
kids.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very wise. Sorry to hear that. That sounds painful.
Yeah.
It's not painful. It's mostly numb until I rolled over on it last night. Good Lord. Some choice words came out of me at the time.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But no,
we had some choice words from Rob Walker when he was a guest on here, didn't we, Phil? Of course, that time. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like we're in that mid-season break now, so maybe let's treat it like that and divert away from the snooker matters. Would you share your Abdi drama, Phil, on the air? Go
Yeah,
on.
yes, he just wandered into the room. He's gone now, but yeah. Cat went missing. Very nervous. 2.5 weeks. But he's back. Christmas miracle. Um, so someone replied to a Facebook post that we'd put on a load of local groups. Um, and they'd seen him in his next door neighbour's garden. He'd just been sort of chilling out there mainly, just down the road from us. He'd been going into through the cat flap and taking the cat's food. He's absolutely massive, my cat. So their two cats were quite scared of him. They just let him do it. And he'd just been sort of lying on their garden furniture. So he was absolutely fine.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I went and got him, and it's good to have him back. But yeah, if anyone's had a pet gone missing, 2 weeks, it feels like
Yeah.
forever. It was really
Oh
horrible.
yeah.
He'd
Oh,
never been gone for more than a day before. So, Nick, you've been to my house. I live by like a really big, busy road. So I
Things
Oh
start
feared the
looking
worst
worse.
there.
Hmm.
yeah.
But yeah, no, but all good news. And we got the message about him being spotted with a photo of him on Christmas Day. So that was lovely stuff. So
It's
yeah,
a
no,
miracle.
very nice to have him back.
Oh,
Oh, that's lovely. No, I know you do live near a busy road. Just, to be serious, you were saying to me on text, you'd gone out to look on the road. There was no sign of the cat being anywhere. You just didn't know. And do they sort of not realise this isn't my home, that lot? They're just thinking I'm in another home and someone might come and get me. I mean, they play by their own rules, don't they?
They do, yeah. I heard all sorts of people tell you all sorts of stuff in these situations, but because someone said they can't go more than 4 houses away before being disorientated and not knowing where it
Right.
is. And I just thought, where have you got 4 houses from? What kind of
I don't
measurement is
think
that?
that's true. No, no, that doesn't sound
um,
right.
but I
Four.
kind of, I mean, how big's a house? That could be any
It's a
amount
where,
of
yeah.
distance.
4
Um,
American houses, the big detached
yeah, four
things. Yeah, maybe.
farms. But yeah, I think he had sort of gone. He'd probably chased something away and got lost somehow, but he
Hmm.
wasn't far away. But yeah, but it was all good news, and I think he's delighted to be home. Although he's not delighted about being locked in the house now, which he will be for a while.
Oh dear.
Well, we
Chloe
really
has similar
go on.
issues. So I was going to say Chloe has had similar issues with her three. I think at least two of them have gone missing. Gary and Vienna have both gone missing for
Yes.
short periods of time.
Yeah.
Vienna,
Yes.
as in good
Um,
night. Yeah.
yeah. My dad named him. He's a big fan of Rising Damp.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Rising Damp, one for the teenagers. That's going back a few years. Brilliant. That's the way to get them in, Phil. Rising Damp. Love it.
Well, there we go. For the real young ones, we've got Gary was named not by Chloe, by his previous owners, was named for the snail from SpongeBob SquarePants.
All right, nice.
So there you go. There's some real. We'll really get the youth in now.
He
Snooker and
is quite
SpongeBob.
like a snail because he does not move.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
very
a
lazy
very
cat.
lazy cat.
Brilliant. Maybe I should just say Animal Magic with Johnny Morris, just for the sake of it, because I usually do when the subject of pets comes up. That's another one going back just a few years now.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's always good for ratings to stick with Ronnie O'Sullivan. So why don't we and just move on seamlessly to this 25-26 season? And Phil, I mean, I do think that line about keyboards on fire, but that wasn't far wrong. We were both working in the office, weren't we, on that night with Ronnie O'Sullivan? Just produced the most extraordinary feat in snooker of two maximums in a match. Mind-boggling stuff. He had other big breaks as well, by the way, in that match. But yeah, I mean, just double 147 against Chris Wakelin in Saudi Arabia. And I think I said, might have been when I did a piece for his 50th birthday, TNT had a list of his achievements and you could vote for them. And when you see them written down, it's kind of mad. I went for his world winning 13 after taking the season off, but
Mm.
you could easily go for 4 or 5. And this was not a tournament win or trophy for it, but as a sort of moment in snooker, Phil, it defied belief, didn't it?
Yeah, it was nuts, and it's actually I was going to mention this and then I forgot, and then this proves it. The point I'm going to make is that Jackson Page had become the first person to make two
Mm.
147s in a
Yeah,
match just a
poor
couple of
guy.
months earlier.
Yeah.
and it completely got forgotten by this, and now I've forgotten to mention it again to prove the point.
Oh no.
This was different because it was all in one session, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jackson was over 2 sessions, so this did feel, and it was obviously on a bigger stage. Although that was the World Championship, so the qualifiers now it's a bit different, but yeah, he sort of wrestled that spotlight away from Jackson pretty quickly. But yeah, it was ridiculous. It was an absurd game, and actually credit to Wakelin because actually it was quite close. Wakelin was pretty competitive against someone who couldn't have played any better. But yeah, an amazing night. Was it a Friday night?
Yeah, I think
Saturday?
it was.
Mm.
I think it was a
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah.
There was something about it all just felt very blockbuster, didn't it? It was great. And yeah, that shows. I think I wrote a piece after that, just saying that kind of thing is almost more important to him than trophies, other than the World Championship trophy at this stage of his career. Because any other trophy doesn't really make any difference to his legacy, other than an 8th World Championship. But doing
Yeah.
stuff like that will actually be added to his sort of whole mythology of Ronnie O'Sullivan, that he can just conjure up stuff that no one else can do. Even
Apart from
his,
Jackson Page.
his yeah, apart from Jackson Page, but we forgot about that. So yeah, no, it was an unbelievable evening, and yeah, just very special stuff.
Mm.
Try and put it into words, Jenny. Go on. How can you get two 147s in one match then?
I mean, I was mad, and I
One
remember
session match. Sorry, Jackson.
one session match and two 147s. I think that is the impressive part because, like we said with Jackson, it was impressive enough with the pressure that he was under as well, with it being the world qualifiers. To me, I think, yeah, similarly big stages in a way, probably a similar number of spectators at both. Showing my bias against the event, but it's no, it was amazing. It was very stressful. We watched. I think he got the 147. We then turned it on. I was staying at Chloe's at the time.
We were very
Then
stressed.
we were very stressed. We turned it on, and Ronnie seemed to go to pot. So we were like, right, okay, we've jinxed it. Turn it off. And then he seemed to go because he was going to pot. I had to go outside. Yeah. I had to go and sit outside with a glass of wine. And then Chloe
if she
was
was
like,
a smoker, she'd have been smoking a cigarette.
I would have been chain smoking if I had the inclination. And then I think like 5 minutes later, Chloe came out and said, "You'll never guess what's happened. He's done it again."
And we missed both of them.
We missed both of them. So that's the joy of being a Ronnie fan, I think, is that even if it's a tournament that you're not maybe, as fussed about personally, when he's playing, you want him to do well. And yeah, I mean, it was a roller coaster for us, just, on the other side of the world, as it were, not really not being there. So I can't imagine how he was feeling. And I mean, Chris has said since how amazing it was to be there and to be present for it, to be part of it. But yeah, it's the kind of thing that only Ronnie can do. I know we jokingly said, and Jackson Page, but
you're right.
I think, yeah, I don't see anyone else doing it in a one session again. Over multiple sessions, maybe, but I'm not sure anyone will do it in a one session match again.
It's a little bit like you, Phil, when when he won that world title with the Netflix cameras, obviously his 7th one. And I think you put it something like, of course he didn't win it because they were there in a way. But with Ronnie, it's almost like, I can do it because I can. And I know there's more to it than that, but he is the only one in snooker that you could really sort of say that about. I'm going to throw you a hot potato, Chloe. I presume you're a big Ronnie fan as well. How much do his off-table antics and some of the times when he crosses the line put you off? Or are you good at compartmentalising when it comes to Ronnie and sort of separate the snooker away from the other stuff?
I mean, I think it's not too difficult. He doesn't do anything overly controversial. He hasn't been accused of anything terrible. He hasn't, ended up in prison. It's just, he runs his mouth a bit, really. But I think he's got one of those personalities. He can just suck you back in. He can annoy you sometimes and think, "Oh, Ronnie, I just can't be bothered with you anymore. You're just running your mouth talking rubbish." When he talks, because one minute he'll be saying, "Oh, the Crucible's brilliant. I love playing there. It's the greatest venue for the world." And then 2 weeks later, he's doing an interview saying, "Oh no, it's absolute rubbish. The world should go to Saudi." I can't stand the place, and you just think, well, you're just saying things, you're just opening your mouth and letting words fall out, Ronnie. And but then sometimes you get frustrated with those kind of things, and then he'll just go back to being. He'll get on the table and he'll do what he does, and you think, you're a genius. I love you. You're brilliant. How can I ever? It's just like, it's like I can't not love you. He's got that magnetic quality that you keep coming back. Um, yeah, I don't think there's much that he could do that could really put me off so much that I wouldn't come crawling back. I'll take whatever he's dishing out, to be honest. It's a
It's
bit
like
pathetic, but there it is.
Wow,
like
that's a hell of a.
Al Pacino in The Godfather, keep trying to get away and they drag me back in.
Yeah,
It's very much how
yeah.
it feels, I think, to be a Ronnie fan.
Well,
I
here's one
think
for you
something
then,
that
Jen.
has
Phil, go on.
sorry, I was thinking something that's come up more and more recently, which I don't know if he did earlier in his career. Maybe he's done more as he's become more of an elder statesman. Is you hear more and more from other players that he's sort of text them and like try to help, give them advice and like help them out.
Mm.
Hear it from like Kyron. Neil Robertson said after Saudi that Ronnie will just ring him up sometimes and just
Yeah.
offer him advice. And you've seen him working with some of the younger players on tour. There's those clips coming up where working with Mikhail Subashik over in China, and he was working with Wu Yize before he won the international championship. So I don't know if he was really doing that before. Maybe he didn't see that as a role for him, but he's seemingly become quite generous with his wisdom and helping other players, which is a nice side of him as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
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 He has
I
got a
think
really kind. He has got a really kind side. No question. I've benefited from it myself. I said it. He has a very, very decent side, Ronnie. That has to be acknowledged too. And I must make sure I always do that. And I hope other people do as well. He's got a side that's he can be out of order and he can be rude to refs and he does cross the line, no question, as we all do in life. And but of course he's in the spotlight, so we see it more with him. But he's also got a kind side, and I'm happy to put that on record. He really has, Jenny.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the vibe you get when you talk to people who have met him, is that he is a lovely bloke, and some people are surprised, like the first time they meet him, they're like, oh, this guy's actually quite nice. Because I think as a fan, he can be maybe a little bit more standoffish. I tell the story when I was in Sheffield that I was walking to the Crucible and he was walking away from the Crucible with his mate Robbie, and I saw a small child go up and ask for a picture, and he just said no. He wasn't rude. He was just like, "Oh no, sorry," and then kept walking. And I just thought that's the kind of guy he is. You're not going to get a lot from him, but I think to people that he knows and maybe people that he trusts a bit more and he's more familiar with, he's a very generous person on that level. And it's maybe just because we see him shy away from the stardom level because it's been forced on him in a way for so many years, and now he's just like, I'm not interested in that kind of spotlight aspect of things. I think that's what sometimes gives him a bad rep. Alongside, as you say, he does sometimes push the limits and go a little bit over the line. He can be a bit rude, but yeah, I think people take his sort of reticence to be the star, which he used to be. I think they take that as rudeness when it's just sort of a desire to step back a bit.
I
That's an
think I think
interesting.
you made a good point, Chloe, in terms of how his rap sheet. There is definitely some bad bits where he has definitely crossed lines at points, but considering how long he's been right at the top of the game in such glare of the public eye, and with things that we know he's dealt with, I don't think actually he's done too bad on the indiscretions front. Really, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Obviously, I'm not excusing some stuff, but um, it's yeah, when you think of, like you mentioned, Alex Higgins before, he did a lot worse stuff, and yeah, I think when you sort of things that get brought up, when you really put them in context, they're not that bad, most of them.
No,
Yeah, and
well,
I think, sorry, I think when you're saying, Nick, about he's gives up a lot of his time with younger players and things, and I think you've got to think back to when he just turned professional. His dad had just gone to prison. He
yeah.
was, he had Ray Reardon taking him under his wing, and he had all these kind of father figures around him. And I think that's what he's kind of trying to emulate. That there aren't, this is never going to be someone quite as orphan Annie as he was back then, in such a vulnerable position. But he looks out for younger players and he thinks, well, maybe I can be a little bit of that father figure, that can help them in their career. Like, people were there for me when I needed them.
Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
lot of wisdom there. Um, I feel a bit rude. There's no reason why I should take the Jeremy Paxman position here. I mean, you can ask me a tough question anytime you want, Jenny, but I know you're no fan of the Saudi Arabia events, and I've made no secret of the fact that I'm no fan of them. Well, Ronnie, I know some of you're a massive fan of. He's one of those that's enthusing the most about them. I mean, how annoyed does that make you?
It's annoying, but it's not surprising because I think Ronnie goes where the money is largely. And Chloe and I have kind of talked about that both like between ourselves and I think on the pod that this can sometimes happen to someone who's grown up with a lot of wealth around them, that you get a kind of fear similar to someone who's maybe grown up very, very poor, that if you don't have money, you need to make sure you're constantly getting the money. You need to make sure that you're constantly like you have an income. And so I think he has a bit of that fear that he's like, well, what's going to happen if I don't have money? What am I? And so he's taking all of those opportunities and saying, well, that's going to set me up for the next 10 years. That's going to set me up for, the next 20 or whatever. So that's how he comes across to me anyway, or to us. So
Mm.
it's frustrating, but it doesn't surprise me. And I don't put much of the blame, as it were, with regard to Saudi on the players, because I think the players are doing their jobs and trying to, provide for themselves and their families the best way they can. And those Saudi tournaments are offering a lot of prize money even for the earlier stages. So I don't put the my anger doesn't go towards them about Saudi. That's very much towards the regime, that I think is the problem, and to the snooker bosses that are making those decisions, which seem to not actually be growing the game, despite that's what we're constantly told. When I think, well, actually, when you're a sports promoter, when you're a promoter of anything, you go where your audience is. And the audience we've seen is Britain, China, and Northern Europe. But there's nothing happening in Northern Europe. We've ignored that because the Saudi money is easier to get at. It's a cash cow. It's an easy money. It's an easy cash grab. But again, it's a cash grab that's largely benefiting people like Ronnie, who already have plenty. It's the top players that tend to be going home with the big prizes. The lower ranked players are maybe breaking even on the cost it takes to go out for that main Saudi event. And I think there's just a lot of there's a lot of issues around it, and it's a very nuanced conversation, and that's not something that's easy to have in the world of sport, as I think you guys both know, being professional sports journalists. It can be really hard to have a properly nuanced conversation about why this is a problem. Yes, there are plus sides to it for the players who are getting that extra income, but we have to have a serious discussion about why it's actually not good for the sport as a whole.
Because of your moral concerns, generally, and over what we see, and for the likes of Amnesty International talking about sort of Saudi's human rights record, people might say that, well, this is sport, we should be separate. We don't need to delve into politics. We do our own thing. And what about the argument? I have no particular time for, but what about the argument that, well, other sports are doing it? Why should we be different? Why should we be the moral ones?
I guess someone's got to be different, for one thing. But to my mind, I don't think you can separate sport from politics when they are bedfellows. And this
Mm.
is the thing with Saudi. I said this actually to my brother. We were having this discussion at the weekend, that the problem that I have personally with Saudi is that it's the same regime that's, flouting human rights and doing those horrible things, is the very one that's funding these tournaments.
Mm.
And that's why it's a problem, because those two things, you can't separate them. Whereas when you look at China and the UK, as far as I'm aware, it's not the UK government that's funding snooker, certainly not to the extent that Saudi is. And similarly, it's not the Chinese government that's funding snooker. There may be small grants, there may be some involvement, but it's not a national thing. I know they make it a bit of a national thing. It's part of the school curriculum and stuff. So there's maybe more of a grey area in China that would be nice to know more about. But this is my issue is that Saudi, it's the same regime that's, you know, killed a journalist. But they have done that. That's been proven. That same regime is funding these two events in snooker, and I don't think you can comfortably sit with that personally. I don't think that's a good thing.
Mm. No, it's very
Very
interesting
heavy
views.
for a Christmas special, Nick.
It is. It
You've
is.
really
It
dragged
is.
us down.
This
And
Yeah,
is
I'm
me
sorry
saying
about
that
that.
with a paper crown on my head and everything.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And yeah, we'll maybe leave that. But I do wonder sometimes whether we've had enough grown-up conversations in snooker like that. There seems to be almost a little bit of a sort of belligerence sometimes with those sort of running their game. Oh well, they sort of pipe out information at these events about how everything's sort of going great there, and you know, quite a few people. I've been quite put out by that, I think, and would like to have more of a sort of grown-up conversation. But listen, you've expressed your views brilliantly here. I think we should talk about Jack Lisowski, maybe, should we? And we'll do that after we say you are listening here to a snooker podcast Christmas special with Talking Snooker and the Wine Rack Pod. Loads more to talk about as we reflect on the year that was 2025, and we wish you a Merry Christmas. I feel like that's quite a lot of my voice, so I'm going to let you take over, Phil, and wax lyrical about Jack Lisowski, and feel free to ask good feeding questions to Jennie and Chloe as well, and just what a special moment that was, and the night. I mean, me and you cry at the sad bits in Neighbours, so we're not the ones to judge. I mean, when it comes to men in touch with their sort of emotional side, we're right up there, but. Even those that don't shed tears often they were shedding them. I mean, to be serious, Jack was just so special the way he won that Northern Ireland Open title, beating Judd Trump, and the fact that it came, a matter of months after losing his father. There was something so painful about that for Jack, obviously, something so poignant about it, and just there's something about sport in general, but snooker just somehow gives us those nights that almost take us into a different realm. That was really very special.
Yeah, I think we're sort of fighting over getting to talk about this one because it was probably everyone's right up there with their favourite moments of the year, if not right at the top. Yeah, it was sort of universally popular in the snooker world, even to the extent where the runner-up was perfectly happy about it, it seemed. Yeah, amazing stuff for Jack. We know it's been coming a long time. Form-wise, there was no reason to suggest it was going to come at the Northern Ireland Open this season. But it couldn't have come better, sort of, in terms of the emotions you're speaking about, losing his dad just a few months earlier. Horrible experience for anyone. It seemed like they were super close. Everything you heard about Jack's dad sounded like he was just a lovely man. And yeah, it just started building that week, didn't it? In Belfast, beating Selby, great win against Tepchire, beating Kyron, and then got to that final against Judd. And really, everything suggested that Judd was going to ruin the party there, as he has done so many times before against Jack. Um, but fascinating final, wasn't it? I mean, it was such drama, that deciding frame. And lovely scenes. Yeah, emotional stuff. And yeah, that's going to go down very memorable. I was actually in Belfast for the first 3 or 4 days of that, and annoyed I was not there for that tear-jerking moment at the end. But even being on the Zoom with him talking afterwards was quite special. So yeah, move on to Chloe or Jenny. Feel free to dive in because I think everyone loved it, didn't they? There was no, even on Twitter, there was no naysayers there, which is unbelievable.
Chloe, you go because I've chatted a lot.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I talk about shedding tears. I certainly cried, and I don't mean a little genteel, ladylike tear dribbling down my cheek. I mean, an ugly cry. There was things coming out of my nose. It was, yeah, I was in hysterics. It was very emotional. Just having been a fan of Jack for several years now, and just you know always having that belief in it. So sometimes it was hard just to believe that he was going to do it one day. And the sad thing is that after the passing of his dad, it almost became inevitable. as cruel as that is, that it's the one thing that he really wanted, and he would have loved, obviously for his dad to be there to see that, and it was that kind of made it inevitable that it was going to happen at some point soon. But hopefully, putting aside the sadness, it's obviously a fantastic moment in his career, and hopefully he can build on that. Hopefully he doesn't let the momentum run out. He probably didn't. He probably predicted a bit of a more eventful continuation of the season after that, which it hasn't really materialized yet. But let's see what 2026 brings, and hopefully he can pick up the pace again.
Mm.
I was quite impressed with how well he kept it together. I mean, he was clearly emotional, but he wasn't nearly as emotional as a lot of people watching. It was impressive.
Yeah, yeah. I think he managed to hold that in right up until it was done, and then he sort of collapsed on Judd. And I think a lot of people tuning in for the first time thought, "Are they lovers?" It was a very, very intimate embrace. But they're bros. They've been bros for so long, and you could really see that in how happy Judd was. And I think he said it, or he alluded to it in either his post-match interview or later on, that he kind of didn't want to win, particularly when it got down to that deciding frame. He thought, I don't think I want to be this much of a villain, and I don't think that stopped him from trying to win. But I think he was kind of relieved that Jack was able to get it over the line, and he could celebrate then with his friend. It was such a momentous occasion. I think it was special that it was against Judd. It almost had to be. That felt fated that it would eventually be his sort of contemporary rival, as it were, and great friend. And it's a great story. It's a great narrative for the
Yeah.
sport.
I think it was good for Jack because he had those 6 finals that then everyone said, "Oh, he's played all these great players." I think he'd only played Judd and Selby and Robertson in
Yeah,
finals, so it's good that he had beaten one of them to get his final. So he
yeah,
didn't just say like, "Oh, he can't beat the good player." He got sort of an
yeah,
easier one.
yeah,
So it is
yeah.
nice for him. And
Yeah.
congratulations to Jack. He got engaged over Christmas. So
Yeah.
heartbreak for fans of Jack everywhere, but he's a spoken for now.
Oh dear. A lot of broken hearts.
More tears have been shed. No.
No, indeed, congratulations to Jack. And just in general, what a great season we're seeing. I mean, the Ronnie Maximums, should say Neil Robertson won that title, of course, 10-9 in the final against Ronnie. We got the theme of different winners. Mark Selby's the only multiple,
Mhm.
winner of an event. All the ranking event winners have been different, going back to about April, I think now, maybe late March, April. I
Mm.
mean, we had that Jack Lisowski was we talked about what just a wonderful story, and we're just what we all sort of did that sort of corny thing, but it did unite snooker, and not a lot often does, because in a big community of people, you're going to have differences, obviously. But I don't think there was almost one dissenting or disappointed voice. It was just delight. Wu Yiza won his first ranking event, should say that as well. He beat John Higgins 10-6 in Nanjing to win the international championship. The maximums, not just Ronnie, of course, but a record 16 already. Previous, you know, largest number was 15. That was last season. We're up to 16 already at Christmas, so that's quite something. And then we had deja vu all over again because Mark Selby beat Judd Trump 10-5 in the Champions final. And then Selby beat Trump 10-8 in the UK Championship final. Well, unlike the Masters, which seems like a donkey's years ago, this, of course, is very recent, fresh in our memory. But it was a hell of a night. We didn't think so, did we, Jenny, when it went to 5-0? But
No.
he got the jitters that night, Mark. We talked about those pockets. They were tighter than we would normally see. He missed blacks off the spot and think, is he going to lose this? It was quite something. I mean, I wouldn't say an absolutely amazing firing Trump, but enough to get right back in it. And we had one of those great sweaty palm snooker night, for want of a better phrase.
We did. Yeah. Yeah. I could have done without it, not gonna lie. I would have liked a cleaner win from Mark. It was very, very stressful. And we were actually, Chloe and I were texting with your good friend and ours, Irene Traharan. We were sort of
Yeah.
messaging her frantically, like, what's going on? And she was in
Although we
Selby
did have
camp.
the comfort that Irene had informed us earlier in the week that Mark fancied it. He said, "Oh, I'm going to win this."
Yeah.
So, like when Mark Selby says that, you just go with it. You just have faith, don't you?
Yeah. So
He's
we were
just
holding on to
he's like
that.
an oracle. If he says he's going to win, he's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were clinging to that when it got a bit squeaky bum time. And it looked like Judd was going to, mount the full-on comeback, which would have been, you know, nice. No, it would have been. It would have been good. It would have been lovely. I know he's had a bit of a dry spell a dry spell for Judd anyway. As it's been a year, hasn't it? This is his first calendar year without a win. So it would have been nice if he could have ended it, and sort of broken that. But I'm sure he'll be back in the winners' enclosure, as we like to say, pretty soon. But yeah, we were thrilled as big Mark Selby fans. I know it's not often that you're a big Ronnie and a big Selby fan, but we are, and so we were absolutely thrilled that he managed 2 wins on the trot. That was very special.
Yeah, both he had 2 doubles, didn't he? The other one was a bit smaller. So his 4 titles in 2025 were both back-to-backs from the
Yeah,
Championship League and the Welsh
and then the
to then
Welsh,
the
yeah,
champion in the UK. So slightly stepped up in size the second time round. But he has these little purple patches.
yeah, yeah. So what do we need him to win? Was it the Tour Championship, then the Worlds? Was that?
That would
That's
be
what we need
stepping it up
next.
once more, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A plug for your piece, Phil. Is it 20 players of the year? I think you went
Yeah, I
for.
was going to do 25 and I just ran out of steam at Christmas time, really. So it's the 20 players of 2025.
But Selby was your number one, wasn't it? I think he just beat out Shaun, didn't he? So, but it's a really good selection. Hard to do. Hard to
It was
do.
tricky.
Some of those ones in the middle. Oh.
A load of a load of them because obviously there've been so many different winners, and then you just rank in tournaments. And then when you've got people like I really wanted Bayu Lu should have been there because of her achievements on the women's tour, but
Yeah.
then you're judging a different tour against everyone else's is slightly easy to rank by, so you got to throw her in there somewhere. So yeah, but I think I was pretty happy with the list in the end. So yeah, have a look at that and send us your own in if you want to make them. But yeah, Selby came out on top just about for his heroics at the end of the year there.
Which is a bit like football, isn't it? It's a bit silly in a way. I mean, we're going to do it. You know, it's an arbitrary thing, years, and we know that, but we do ultimately rank and gauge our lives by years, and we always have done. But it doesn't really work in snooker. It's season, same like it doesn't work in football. But it's all right. We'll still do it. But the real thing you want to do is that in May gauge across the season. But listen, Phil, amazingly, I think we're sort of doing all right for time. I can't get over it. We're doing all right. I mean, we maybe should we move on to a magic moment? We were going to do a magic moment each, weren't we? But not Jack, because I think we all would go for Jack, wouldn't we? That is our collective magic moment on this snooker podcast Christmas special. We're saying that ultimately nothing matched that magic of that night in Belfast when Jack Lisowski won. So for fear of repetition, we're going to go for so who wants to go first? Maybe you, Chloe. Have you got a magic moment aside from Jack for this year?
Oh, it is tough because it has been an action-packed season.
Buffering.
Oh, I may not have been the best first choice.
Well, we can come back to you if you've got one, Jenny.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was thinking about it, obviously our communal Jack, but I think as we're doing it by year rather than simply by season, I've got to go for a cheeky kind of 1.5. The main one is that Higgins Williams matchup at the Worlds.
That's mine.
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
But that was incredible to watch it live. Yeah. 2 absolute giants, and they really went toe to toe. That was superb. But my sort of half one is Williams's final entrance in the final, where he came down the stairs to Delilah and he paused at the end there with his hand over his heart, and it was just very emotional.
Blood tears, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that weird thing that they do. I mean, it sort of works, and it certainly worked then, where they put that stand in, so they come down the steps and then go back up.
Go up again. Yeah.
I kept thinking he was going to fall off at his age.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
I was like, this is not great for a 50-year-old. Like, it's not going to end well. Someone's taking a tumble. Yeah.
Can you tell us about that the end of that Williams Higgins when Higgins missed that blue, wasn't it, at the end?
Yeah.
That must have been sort of like to be in there must have been crazy.
It was. I just think everyone, it was heart in the mouth kind of stuff. I think it was the fact that I didn't think it was a set that he was going to win, even though he was ahead. He was like well in to win the frame at that point. I think all of us were like, this is inevitable. It's inevitable that it's not going to be a clean win in this final frame, that it's going to be kind of bitty, and it's going to go kind of tit for tat right up into the end, right until the last ball's potted. So yeah, it was very intense. I can't remember if at that point there was still a match on the other table. Have a feeling there wasn't. I think it was just them in the arena at that point. But even if there had been, I don't. The fact that I can't remember means that had all the attention, because that was just such an epic clash. Those two. That was, yeah. I feel very privileged to have been able to witness the whole thing as well.
Yeah, that's mine. And I'll come back to it. I watched it in The Graduate, actually, with a couple of very good old mate of mine from university. And I've known for sort of 30 years now, and another couple of chaps, and it was just electric everywhere. And what I loved about it, I think it finished somewhere between half one and two, or maybe nearer two.
Mm.
I remember because someone else that we were sort of in our party was at both, and quickly wolfed the sandwich down in between. So there wasn't long. There was that juxtaposition of everyone coming in for the next session, people pouring out. I know we said this before now, Phil, that Tudor Square is more and more special every year, really. And I think that was the sort of the fulcrum of that experience at this recent championship, the 2025 championship. And the Williams coming out thing, and going out when I was out there for that, to go and do the BBC, and him getting a great reception. Mark, well done. And it was just a magic moment. And I thought that symbolised to me the way that Sheffield has become so much. I mean, that's actually right outside the Crucible, but still, then it's Tudor Square, and I was in pubs, I was seeing it, cafes. You got the feeling people round and about. It was symbolised to me how that event is now just a great Sheffield event, actually, and it has been for a long, long time. When I first worked there donkeys years ago, you didn't see much about it at all, really, but that was a long time ago. Now it's everywhere, and that's brilliant. And Phil, you're a Sheffield man, so you should be saying this, really, but it does embrace it and love it, doesn't it? And that was just, it was a special match. It was actually a special sporting moment. It transcended snooker for me that day. It was a special moment in sport. Two great players, drama right until the end, absolute theatre that only this sport can provide. And just to say, for you, Jenny, being in there, extra special. But anyone that's in and around Sheffield that day, it will, I think, stick in the memory.
Yeah, and it did for Williams, because I asked him in the presser afterwards, because he's always like, he doesn't get up or down, doesn't he? And I said to him, that must have meant something. Surely that meant something to you. And he said it was it was the moment you just described, Nick, walking back from either to or from the Winter Gardens.
You got it both
really
ways, yeah.
Yeah, that really sort of brought a tear to the eye kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you can bring some emotions out of Mark Williams, then it has been quite a special occasion. Yeah, that Tudor Square, we said it a load of times. Like it's really good. The weather was amazing over this World Championship. We made the
Yeah.
most of it. I remember popping out to meet a mate for a couple of beers there, and it was while Judd was playing Luca, and that game was really close for one bit, and it was really exciting. At the end of one session, and the place was like rocking. It was so good. It was really full out in that sort of fake grass bit, and the back of the head of steam, and everyone was watching it really intently, getting cheers and stuff. So yeah, no, it's a real good atmosphere there. So yeah, more the merrier. Hopefully that stays for years to come. We'll see. Chloe, have we got yours yet? Your magic moment?
It's a bit cliche and a bit predictable, but I think it has to be Mark Selby winning Champion of Champions.
Oh.
It just for so many reasons. It's Mark Selby. I love him. He's he's just such a he's so deserving as a winner. I don't think there's any trophy he's ever lifted you could ever say, oh, I don't know if he really earned that. He's just such a great guy. He's incredibly hardworking. He's incredibly talented. Always downplays it. His own hard work, his own talent. He's quite down on himself. But at the end of the day, he works incredibly hard. He deserves everything he gets, and just to see him coming back into form and really, getting some legs, growing some legs on him this for this season, and getting going is just, yeah, a really magical moment. Fortunately, it happens most seasons. We see it at some point he'll get going, but every now and again you just think, maybe this season he won't, and then he just comes around, he just turns around, he does it, and there you go, he's off and running, and it's always great to see.
And we got to see it live, which I think is what
Yes,
makes
we did. It was
extra magic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think because he's so good, he has picked up tournaments over the last 2 or 3 years, and there's been a bit like, oh, he's back, but he's not looked as back as he has done now for ages. Because those two,
Yeah.
especially Champion of Champions, but also UK, really, he was playing like as proper top level Selby stuff, which I don't think when he was winning like the Welsh or that English he won, which was his first time for ages, he wasn't really. He was back enough to win a tournament, but this feels like more. He could go on and win a load more the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was our first time actually watching lift a trophy in person. We'd begun to think that we were a bit of a jinx. Every time we seemed to go, he seemed to last maybe another match or two and then fizzle out. But no, we managed not to ruin that one.
And we were
Have you
front
had the
row.
pleasure
You
of
couldn't
meeting
miss
him
us,
in
so.
person? Have you had the
Yes,
pleasure of speaking to him in the flesh?
very
Briefly.
briefly.
Yeah.
He doesn't, unless you've got something really specific to say, he's not a chatter. If you get him going sort of about a very specific subject, I think he can go on for a little bit. But if you just kind of turn up and say, "Oh, watch you play, you were very good," he just sort of goes, "Thanks."
Yeah.
And that's sort of
Thanks,
it.
Matt. Yeah.
So, and you know what it's like. You meet these players and you're a bit in awe, and you don't want to keep them. They're obviously they want to go home. They want to take the waistcoat off. They want to go home and relax or practice or whatever it is they're going to do. So it's hard to get going, but we have basked in his presence for a few glorious moments, and he is a very, very lovely guy, as everyone who's ever met him will tell you.
Yeah.
Good.
Phil, what's yours?
Well, I had similar ones on the list. My one is quite a sort of small-ish, like personal one, sort of. But I've spoke about it on the podcast before. When with Zach Surety, because we had him on our pod, didn't we, before the World
Yeah.
Championship? And when you speak to Zach, you sort of become a fan of him instantly. He's just such a nice guy. He's really funny, just so
Yeah.
normal. He's a brilliant player, and he came through that World Championship qualifying in like stunning fashion. Absolutely battered Ricky Walden in the last round. Beat Lisowski actually in the previous round. And then he started against Ding in the first round of the Crucible, and he was having an absolute shocker. Like the nerves were really getting to him on his Crucible debut. He looked like he was really struggling. It looked like it could have been disastrous. And I happened to walk in the Crucible. I was late, obviously. I had to walk in through where you come in at stage door, just as he was about to go back out after he was 4-0 down. And he looked like he was just like white as a sheet. He looked like he was going to like the noose. Like it looked like it couldn't have been any worse for him. And I just sort of tapped him on the stomach. I was like, "You're all right, mate. You'll be all right." And I'm not saying that made any difference, obviously, but he went back out there, and he did settle, and then he played unbelievably well. And I was
Yeah.
just, I think you were the same, Nick. We were just so pleased for him.
Yeah.
He just set the record, didn't he? 4 centuries, which no one done on debut before. I know he ended up losing, but it was just an unbelievable performance, and I was so pleased that he'd got to show how good he is, and he got to enjoy it as well. Because if he'd lost 10-0, he might never have wanted to go
Yeah.
back to the Crucible. It would have been horrible. So I was just dead pleased for him on all those levels to really show what he can do and to enjoy it. And yeah, no, so that was good. And I think that was one of the highlights of our podcast for the year as well, just having him on. I'm just a big fan of him. He's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my personal little nice moment of the year.
Well, that's a lovely one, you know. That's a smashing one from you. And yeah, you brought me back to that match. Yeah, I know I say, of course, we don't have favourites, but it would have been really gutting if we'd have lost really heavily. Say it wouldn't have been justified. That's not quite the right way to say. You know, if you don't play well enough for that sport, but it just was so brilliant that he found his feet and just showed what he can do because he's such a good player. And you know from other people talking about him, and Neil Robertson plays quite a bit with him actually, and says what a great guy he is, such a great bloke. Stuart Bingham's known him for a long time. They're from the same part of the world. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's lots of nice guys in snooker, but might come around to the nicest of the lot. I think maybe pound for pound Barry Hawkins, because we now have what I think could be termed as a comedy feature, Jenny. And I think it's only fair for you to. Phil suggested this after listening to your own Christmas special. So tell us a little bit about it. Introduce it. Guide us into this comedy interlude and this
Guide us, oh thou
podcast
great
special.
podcaster. Yes. Um, we so for anyone who's not experienced the joys of the wine rack, Chloe and I do a slightly silly segment at the end of ours called the free ball, where we shoehorn various random topics, normally about sort of pop culture, etc., into the world of snooker. And for our Christmas special, we did basically a rundown of a Christmas day, imagining that all of the snooker players had booked some giant cabin in the woods kind of deal with snow, etc., not in a horror movie kind of way. And they were having a big Christmas do, and it was basically who did what, who did the cooking, who did the wrapping of the presents, who was falling asleep in front of the King's speech, that kind of deal. And Phil, you enjoyed this so much, you were like, can we do that when we do our Christmas special with you? So I have come up with some extras that we didn't do on the wine rack pod, and I have put them on a wheel because we typically spin the wheel for our free ball cover.
Brilliant.
So I'm spinning the wheel. I will not put it on screen because it'll go.
Oh, come on! Why can't you put it on screen?
Here we go. Can we show? Here we go.
Oh, of course, put it on screen.
Nice.
There we go. So we've got who is the argument starter. Because there's normally, if you've got enough people around at Christmas, I mean, we don't have arguments because there's only two of us here, but if you've got enough people, as you would have if you had all, 160 odd snooker players, who's starting the arguments? Who's getting rowdy after lunch?
Some good options there. If I have the one that springs to mind, I'm going to say Matthew Selt.
Yeah.
He just loves an argument.
He loves an argument.
controversy.
He loves a fight. Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate, actually. I don't think I've got a rebuttal for that. Some people might say Ronnie.
That's right.
You may be a bit
No,
argumentative,
Selt definitely. He could
I
start a
think
fight.
Selt's the
He could start a fight in an empty room, as Alec Ferguson once said about Dennis Wise. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He probably has several times.
I think the distinction is Matt Selt would start an argument and be right there in amongst it, whereas Ronnie would start an argument, sit
And
back
just
and
be-
laugh while
Yeah.
everyone else not glump at each other.
That's true. That's true. Ronnie would be the instigator of sort of needle and
Mayhem.
and then he'd sort of skip away merrily.
I could certainly see Mark Williams sort of saying, "Oh, have you heard what he said about you?"
Yeah.
And then just sort of
Yeah.
like letting it all kick off around.
They're sort of the two harbingers of chaos, Williams and Ronnie. And then I feel like John Higgins is the sensible one of those three. So he'd be coming in to level things out.
Yeah.
He'd be trying.
Yeah. With the sort of line, you two have got to grow up, maybe, but in a sort of jokey way.
Yeah.
Sort of-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I thought that maybe Stephen Hendry would just go around telling everyone they should have done a bit better with stuff.
That was careless. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's terrible,
exactly.
yeah.
Various things were careless.
Yes.
Preparation of the gravy or whatever it is, you didn't get the right chocolates in, whatever it would be.
Mark Allen's always very forthright with his opinions on things. I'm sure
True.
if he got a present that he didn't like, he would be
he'd
sure to
say.
let him know.
Yeah. Oh, he would.
But the person that gets the best presents in, without a doubt, is Barry Hawkins. I don't know what Barry's family situation would be, but I just got visions of, oh, thanks, Uncle Barry. I really wanted that. He just get, what he's like, get the right things in, wouldn't he? He wouldn't put a foot wrong. But I don't think Barry puts a foot wrong in any part of life, really. But I bet that extends to. I can see you chuckling away, Phil. I've got to start a Barry Hawkins fan club. I just do like him, don't I?
Yep.
I'm sure he'd have plenty of sign-uppies. Yeah, I'm sure he'd be in the full swing of things as well. He'd be in Christmas jumpers, Christmas hats.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. He seems like the kind of guy, he listens. He pays attention. So when Christmas rolls around, he's like, I remember someone mentioned X. And he goes out and he gets it.
Yeah.
Chloe, you were about to say that, no, that's actually Tara that does that. It looked like you were about to jump in and be like, it's not Barry.
Well, I was just going to say, I bet he's like really down with the kids. He'd be like, hey, here's your V-Bucks for your fortnight. Whatever the kids are into these days.
As you can tell, Chloe is not down with the kids. So. Do we want another? Do we want another spin? How are we for time? Can we
Sure.
do another?
Oh, come on! This is brilliant.
Okay.
This is also one for the teenagers. It's like a sort of Wheel of Fortune sort of affair.
Fortune. What have we got? Okay,
Well,
I'm aware that it's back to front, but this I think is knows the Muppets Christmas Carol by heart. So this is basically who is Jennie, because I do in fact know it by heart.
oh, that's hard. Well, I mean, the aforementioned John Higgins is really into sort of like his entertainment, isn't he? Things like musicals.
True.
I
Yeah.
think I think he might secretly know. Oh, I know this
Mhm.
really well. You know, he was sort
Yeah.
of.
I reckon
Yeah.
he'd know the songs at least. He'd definitely be there singing along.
He was my
It's going to be
go-to.
someone who is a die-hard Michael Caine fan, and they should be like, I don't care that it's got the Muppets in it. It's a Michael Caine film, therefore it's amazing. Someone's going to come at it from that angle, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought I was going to do Virgo on another thing. I was
Mhm.
going to do Virgo doing silly things like this is. I can't believe I'm going to do this. This is really bad stuff, actually. This is as naff as anything I've done. I've done a lot of naff things. Just his phrase with everything like, "Where's the Brussels sprouts going? Where's a tin of Quality Street going?" This is a. I'm about to say it would have been a career ender if I wasn't doing most things that were naff most of the time. But the reason I say that is that Virgo would know Kane, wouldn't he? He'd
Oh,
Yeah.
know
right.
Michael Caine.
Like personal
Of
friend.
course.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's about a friend, but he'd have done something with him in sort of
Yeah.
like in the autumn of '87. Oh yeah, me and
Yeah.
Michael, we had a great time, and you know they'd have ended up at Ronnie Scott's one night with him and Jimmy, that sort of thing. Oh yeah, Michael Caine was there, great night. That's what makes me think he definitely know
But
Michael Caine somewhere
didn't
along
have
the
an
line.
anecdote when he came on with us where he ended up like holding hands with Maggie Thatcher.
Now
It was
that I
it
have
was
to
a mad
say.
little story.
That's great. Yeah.
Jonathan Isabey, who's an old York University friend of mine, who's quite big involved with politics. And I think he's described that as a very strange story or something. Yeah, I've never heard that mentioned until you said it. That was an extremely odd story, actually. I mean,
Mhm.
the point was that Virgo was saying she was a nice lady. He was saying that he didn't. John Virgo's a socialist, of course, like me and you, Phil. So he's got no time for sort of Mrs. Thatcher, but in political terms, but he was saying that ultimately I think her and Dennis, or certainly she was a nice lady at this event, but that thing about, yeah, it was just a funny story, wasn't it? I mean, we got our 5th anniversary of that coming back, and I thought we might have to, I was thinking of, funny enough, in the last wee while, we need to maybe reproduce that. I think Higgins it's not about ourselves. I think Higgins was an amazing episode we did, but there's something about that Virgo, isn't there? His early days, he's such a massive character, but you're right.
Yeah.
And also, he didn't name drop in a sort of ridiculous way in that episode, did he? As he doesn't normally. He just name drops because he knows people, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
God,
Is that,
Those are his
he's a
friends.
massive star. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
certainly
exactly.
Michael Caine circle star for
hmm
sure.
hmm If not, he definitely knows the Muppets. I feel like if any of them are going to know the Muppets, it would be Virgo.
They
And
could
in
have
fact, I
easily
can
Definitely.
played on a
see
Big Break special.
if they wanted to bring Big Break back, I think you could have Virgo and either Kermit or the Great Gonzo as the host in place of Jim Davidson. I think that would be significantly better. That would be an improvement.
They've aged better than Davidson's,
They
I
have,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that this is that us four as a group of people would be particular friends of Davidson, would we? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Um, um,
I was just about to say that I'm sure Jim Davidson has been called a Muppet before, but not quite in that context.
I'm old enough to remember Up the Elephant Around the Castle. I think that's going back a while, isn't it? That was one of the first times I saw that. That's going back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are very good, actually.
Mhm.
I'm enjoying this segment. I really
I
am.
think Shaun Murphy would also know quite a lot of that. I think he just
Yeah.
musically, I bet he'd just enjoy that.
Yeah.
He'd be
Shaun
an
Murphy
option
was
as
not
well.
invited.
Sh- Now,
We can say that now. We can say that now because we're on the funny bit.
well, what I on Christmas Day, there was a bit of karaoke going on, I have to say, after the
Nice.
walk, after the lunch, and after the walk. And if there was karaoke or just anything musical, Sean would be involved. He would get everyone around the old Joanna. There's a piano. There's a piano in the spare room. Brilliant. Come on, Sean. Sean would have them all singing around there for sure. He's quite
Yeah.
good on the piano, you know. Yeah, he's all right. He's
Yeah.
one of his many talents. So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely who I might say would be the biggest grouch, but that's probably a bit unfair. I'm a massive grouch myself. I don't know what I'm saying that for, but yeah, who would be the one? Bloody Christmas! It's a waste of money, you know. Come on.
Mark
Probably
Williams.
Hendry? No, not Mark.
I thought
I,
Williams as well, to be
that's what
fair.
he's like
Oh,
in real
really?
life.
I think he would be a little bit like it's a waste of money and it's all commercial nonsense, wouldn't he? I
Yeah.
think he
But
probably
he'd
would.
still buy into it. He'd still love it. He'd love the spirit of the season. But maybe he'd be a bit, that's a waste. Why have you bought that?
I never know how much he's sort of just like joking. He would put on a front definitely as being like a big
Mm,
Grinch, but he might secretly love it.
yeah.
I'm thinking of who are the sort of you get the real sort of glass half empty people. Like I'm going to say David Gilbert. He's often sounding very down
Yes.
about most
Yeah.
things. And I
Oh,
think maybe
bless.
Christmas might be another thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's quite
yeah.
possible.
I
Yeah.
think David would be maybe in a corner with possibly Gary Wilson.
Mm.
Tom
It has
Ford.
Tom
Yeah.
Ford.
Oh, Tom Ford, yes.
Oh
The,
yeah.
Yeah.
it hasn't been our year, lads.
Yeah.
Group. Yeah, one of the memes I love. I have to say I adore this one. It's really bad. You know, me in January. You know, always listen about June and July. It's all sort of excited, you know, ready for
Mm.
life, full of it. And then sort of June, July. It's the picture in June, July is Phil Mitchell out by the bins with a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
And I always think, I can imagine that and I always think most of us sort of get that because I always think,
Mm.
I can imagine that sort of makes me think of that corner. It didn't work for us next year, lads, but 2026 will be our year. Actually, they wouldn't say that, would they? They wouldn't say that in a million years.
No,
No.
no, they wouldn't be optimistic enough. Be like, it can't get worse, can it? Or maybe it can. Yeah.
Oh, be like this time next year, I'll be working in Tesco's.
Yep. Yeah.
The anti-fools and horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
This time next year, we'll be on minimum wage.
Yeah.
That is very good. Ah, dear. And I don't know if this is one of those things that we're just having a great time amongst ourselves laughing, or whether they're laughing with us out there. I hope it's the latter. I think this is brilliant fun. Um, but
Good.
One more spin of the wheel.
Do you
well,
want more
I think so.
Okay, one more spin of the wheel. We've got four left to pick from. Hopefully it's a good one. Where- I can't tell what that is from here.
Radio
Excess
silent.
brandy. Excess brandy on the pudding. Who's gone overboard and then someone loses an
So
eyebrow?
basically, who sets themselves on fire?
Basically, yeah. Who's the fire starter?
It's Neil
Wow.
Robertson.
I think it might be Neil.
He just
No,
he
Yeah.
gives off an aura of clumsiness, like good-natured, well-meaning clumsiness.
Mhm.
Sorry, mate. No, he'd turn up unbelievably late, wouldn't he? That's a cliche, but
He
he'd
would,
be
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah.
I
So
went to the wrong chemist. I'm so sorry. I got the wrong coordinates.
he just sort of he'd be on his third mouthful of turkey when sort of like, you know,
Tofurkey.
you know,
Yeah,
Amanda
Tofurkey,
Land.
'cause
By the
he's-
way, Phil, I noticed by the way that I saw a bit of Amanda Land. Now, our friend and colleague Gavin Brown made the comment a while back. I said, we'll vote of confidence in Amanda Land. And it was a vote of confidence, but I think a vote of confidence it deserves. I don't know why I'm always amazed at spin-offs work. That obviously came from Motherland. Very good. Sorry to go off topic. It's good Amanda Land, isn't it? They've done
Yeah.
well with that. They've done well, haven't they?
I think that was the only time I've ever seen it, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It looks good. It's got a great cast. I've never watched it, but I have to admit that's a stacked cast of fantastic comedic women. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was
similarly,
good.
Motherland is an
Yeah,
excellent
that's-
cast. So yeah, yeah. I did have one more on the wheel that we didn't get to,
Oh,
Okay.
let's do it.
but
yeah.
I would like to know who, and this can be a vote amongst us as well, who insists that Die Hard is a Christmas film. I say it isn't.
It definitely isn't.
Phil, I
You've-
feel like you're in the Die Hard is. You're in the yes camp,
I don't
aren't
really.
you?
I'd actually only ever saw it for the first time last year.
Ah,
The
It's one
fact
of
it
those.
takes place at Christmas, that doesn't
It's too
Yeah,
tenuous, even for us.
that doesn't wash, I'm afraid.
yeah, no, I'd go with that.
But to be honest, like I've never watched it, and I have no desire to. Does nothing for me. I don't like action films, but it takes place on Christmas Eve, and one of the scenes is at a Christmas party. I mean, that's a Christmas film.
Doesn't have the message of Christmas though. That's the problem.
No, it doesn't. But you know,
It's
like,
got to have a relevance. Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that is a Thanksgiving film.
Mm.
Because the whole thing is about him going home for Thanksgiving. It's all linked to that, the emotion of it. He's seeing his family. He can't wait to get there. That's a central part of the central theme running you through it. You need a central theme, don't you? Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I watched the other day, which I'd seen before, but Bella had it on, The Holiday, which always goes down as a Christmas film, but actually has nothing to do with Christmas.
No,
It's
just
just
takes
set at
place.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
That could have been any time, but that's
Mhm.
always goes down as a Christmassy film.
Yeah. It's more of a Valentine's Day film, I feel like, even though it happens at Christmas. I feel like it's
Yeah,
because it's so much about love, shove it for Valentine's. That's the way.
it's snowy, really. That's the only Christmas
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
I think it's fake snow, isn't it? A lot of that's filmed around Godalming Way and down in Surrey. I think. No, yeah, I like
I
that
don't think
film
they just
actually.
waited for it to actually snow to film it. I think it probably was fake snow, yeah.
Come on, have we got one more of the wheel, or is this?
We got one more. We can have one more of the wheel. Hang on, let me get the wheel back. We've
I'm
had
enjoying this too much, really.
okay. We've got two. So let's see. It's either who hates the turkey or who insists on Instagramming everything. I think it's going to be Instagram. Who's on the gram the whole day? Who is like Instagram stories, highlight reels, making people do TikTok dances. It's a different app, but let's go with it. Who is social media-fying? And why is it Taylor Wilson?
It may well be.
He would.
Okay.
He would.
You go for like the
I,
young guys. Maybe it's Stan Moody. I don't know.
Yeah. Or Zach Surety's quite big on the social. Sorry, Chloe, I'm going over you.
sorry, I was just going to say, and I'm sure you're thinking this as well. I'm visualizing a power couple formed of Taylor Wilson and Joe Williams.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. They would get all the content. All the
Yeah.
content. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people, isn't there? Really, that could be. That's a bit of a sort of corny one. A bit of washing my hands of it a bit, but I feel a lot of them are sort of into social media. Really,
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to sort of pinpoint that one down.
Yeah. I think
If
you'd
you could
certainly
turn it
get
into
very
golf and cricket memes, then it'd be Robertson.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be doing that. Yeah. We did see on Instagram someone a Warhammer wife. She'd put up like a lovely Dickensian Christmas scene, and then she zoomed in and there were these slightly Christmasified Warhammer figures that had invaded this Dickensian village. And I thought that's the kind of thing Neil would do. And if he did that, he'd put it on Instagram as well. He's probably got special Christmas Warhammer figures just waiting to terrorize.
Little elf hats on.
Yeah. Puts them with the nativity. Be like they're wise men. That counts.
I always think Judd is sort of a go-to when you think of things like that, but he's actually not really on it so much anymore. He's not big on the old on the socials these days.
No, he's backed off it a bit more private. But no, I see good crack from Zach Surety on Instagram quite a lot. So I would punt for him. I think he'd come up with the goods.
He'd be great company, full stop. I think, wouldn't he, on Christmas
would,
Day? To be
yeah.
fair, he'd be great value. Well, I really enjoyed that. We're now up to about 2 hours. I sound like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. I really did enjoy it. And I think you can tell from my laughter, we're up to 2 hours. So I think maybe should we just think about wrapping it up then? I think maybe we should do that. But we got a few other things to say. Joe Perry won the Bush's Seniors Open, didn't he, in Derby? He beat Jimmy White 7-5 in the final. A lot of snooker fans enjoyed that. Comforting viewing, that's the word that kept coming through. A lot of comfort they took from that. It's never been a Christmas sport, of course, but that event has sort of taken that slot. I had no time at all for that. We had to change channel thing after having a seniors event. I know, Phil, you've said about the remote control not being hard to switch. I mean, having a seniors event on a main channel is a miracle.
Well, yeah, yeah.
It's an absolute miracle. The idea that, after 4 or 5 hours of live coverage, that then it wasn't nowhere. It was on another channel. But anyway,
Mm.
maybe not time to get on my high horse at the end of a Christmas special podcast. But anyway, that was lovely from Joe. And I don't know if Jenny, you caught any of that, but he's a fabulous player, of course, Joe Perry. He's only recently retired. Told me on Radio Snooker earlier this season that he's not missing it one bit. But he might not be missing the Pro Tour, but he can still play a bit.
Oh, he can. And yeah, it was great. I missed this controversy because I'd gone to have a Zoom with other family members, but my mum was actually still downstairs and she thought, oh, I know they're not going to finish anytime soon in this final, what turned out to be the final frame, so I'll just go and put the bin out. And when she came back, she'd missed the announcement that it had moved channels. So for her, that was really frustrating. She was like, well, where's it gone? Why have they turned it on to American football? Nobody cares about American football. What's going on? So it was a bit frustrating, I think, because it ended up being the final frame. That was, you were like, well, could you have waited until the frame finished at least? But no, as you say, I think it's impressive to have it on a mainstream free-to-air channel, just in general. And I think snooker suits Christmas. I feel like snooker should be a Christmassy thing. We should have something kind of near Christmas. Maybe they shift the shootout to like. But no, I think part of the appeal. Yeah, I think part of the appeal is that it's, without wanting to do down the seniors, it's low stakes. It's not the main tour, so it's not, oh God, someone's tour cards on the line, or it's ranking points.
It is, but to interrupt, I've seen fans say that's part of the attraction, actually.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because a lot of people get into their particular favourites or events, and they get quite stressed watching it.
Yeah.
And they'll say, actually, the stakes are, what the stakes are for seniors event. Yeah. The players want to win them. The players want to win that event. Absolutely. But it doesn't have that real intense feel of a ranking event. So people say that's part of the appeal. I should.
No, I agree. I think because it sort of it's more of an easy viewing. It's more like watching an exhibition. But it's got sort of a little bit more gravitas to it, maybe. And yeah, no, I think they did a great job with it. Really enjoyed it, what I saw. So more of that.
Definitely. And Phil, the Championship League non-ranking version kicks off on Friday, which is I said the word sobering before we went off there. Maybe a bit unfair. It's just a new year, so snooker's back, and we tend to think Masters, don't we? I know I'm already thinking Masters, but there is some snooker before that being played as ever behind closed doors, and that taking place in Leicester. And I suppose just on our front, Phil, we should say Neil Foulds will be with us, won't he? All being well, to preview the Masters. That's next week. We can't wait to have Neil on. He's one of the great voices, not just of snooker for me, but across sport. And we really look forward to that. So I must admit, I've got Masters in my mind, but a little bit of a warm up. And we say it time and time again, don't we? And players tell us when they go into these big events, be it the Masters or other things, but often the Masters, they might not have the queue out for maybe a week or two. They go and play some snooker there. It stands them in good stead if they're in the Masters too.
Yeah, I'm always a bit surprised when players haven't played in this who are going to play in the Masters, but maybe they saw what happened to Ronnie last season and thought they don't want that to happen to them. Don't go to the Championship League before the Masters. But no, it does seem like obvious sort of match practice before going to Ali Ballet. And I mean those groups, there are some really good ones. I've got the first one here: Wakelin, Slessor, O'Connor, Pang, Ford, for Phi, Page. So no Masters people there actually, but a good group nonetheless. And then some bigger names join later in the week. It's arguably the weirdest tournament on the whole calendar. I think the fact that people just stay in groups and carry on. Some years people have played in almost every single group, racking up prize money. But only certain players on the tour go in it. It's all a bit confusing. But if you're watching it, there's some great stuff. There usually a lot of centuries made in that tournament. It's better than nothing to watch for sure. We're looking forward to Neil for a double guest. We haven't had many double guests on Talking Snooker, but a man of the caliber of Neil Foulds deserves it.
He certainly does. And of course, Jenny and Chloe, you've got a whole year ahead of you on the wine rack, so lots more chatting about snooker, lots more drinking of wine, and no doubt, lots more brilliant ideas. Will you be getting that wheel out for other reasons?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah. The wheel officially um comes out every time to pick our category, but unofficially we may or may not choose those things beforehand. We have to do some planning. But yeah, we don't have any major plans at the moment. We're getting together this coming weekend for our sort of second or third Christmas together. So I think we'll be doing our main strategizing then, which will be good. But hopefully some more nice guest appearances, and hopefully we'll get to see some more live snooker as well. I think we're planning, as we said, Manchester, and
Ah.
probably some kind of trip to Sheffield. I don't imagine I'll be there for the 2 weeks again, sadly. But you never know. You never know. Watch this space. But yeah, we're always there for the slightly off the wall podcast needs. You guys provide the sensible double act, and then we provide the tipsy double act. So we will be your foil, eternal foil.
Well, we've loved this, haven't we, Phil? It's been brilliant. It's been great fun actually, and
It's been good.
just to say, from my point of view, my sporting life review of the snooker year of 2025 is on that website now. You can also see my special feature on sporting highlights of 26 on there. And I'll be back with Radio Snooker soon. I'll be talking television coverage of the Masters. A few little tidbits for you on that score. And well, England won a Test match, Phil, and our friend and colleague Shane McDermott was there to see it. Virtually 15 years. I mean, too little, too late for the series. That farcical Test match, absolutely farcical. The second 2-day test of the of the series. They played 13 days out of 20. I mean, it's nonsense.
Yeah,
But they got a win.
yeah, win's a win, isn't it? Yeah, and yeah, fair play to Shane. He went all the way out there, and he's got the last one to come as well. So he's having a good time. And yeah, no, nice to win. However ridiculous as, the circumstances were.
Shall we maybe finish off with our wish before we say our goodbyes?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who wants to say that? Oh, Jenny, you've got a very worried face. I mean,
I forgot about this bit. A wish for 2026. I think Chloe, you're welcome to kind of piggyback off this. I think we're both wishing for the fifth Selby title at the Worlds,
oh,
and
Yes.
that's a big wish. But just to see him lift a bit more silverware would be great. But
Back at full power.
yeah, yeah, we'd love to see him.
would you like to see Selby 5 more than Ronnie 8?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Although part of me thinks the longer we wait for Ronnie's 8, the less likely it is. So maybe
Mm.
this year we could take
I mean,
Ronnie.
I think it's one of those things. Ronnie will win the eighth when everyone's decided he's not going to do it. When everyone's lost
Mm,
faith in him, that's when he'll win it.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was like we used to say about Jack, if you're not looking at him, he'll
Yeah.
win. But the minute
You
you
can
pay
get everyone just
attention,
just just to
Yeah.
close their eyes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I think that's our wine rack wish, if you can say that 5 times fast after a bottle, is for Selby's fifth.
nice.
Well, what about you, Phil?
I want all the pockets to be the same size and no one ever talk about it ever again. So boring. But yeah,
Okay.
hopefully that gets sorted soon. And I just find it
Yeah.
so dull. But I understand why we talk about it, and I do talk about it
Mm.
because it's important. But just end it, please. Just get them the same, and we can leave that there.
Well, mine is about the biggest tournament. There was a few of us gathered. I'm not sure you were there, Phil, actually. I know Neil Squires was there, who's started to do a fair bit of snooker. Neil, a journalist I've known for a long time, great journalist. Can't remember, maybe Rob Moore was there, possibly Shane. Roddy Bissett, and he'd obviously asked a few people this, our friend from WST, and said, leaving everything aside, all maybe even the fact you're a journalist, or maybe wear a fans hat, or anything you want to do, put yourself, in everything you know about snooker, you know, without any agenda. Not there should be an agenda anyway. Do you think the World Championship is best staying at the Crucible? And I really did think about it. He put it much better than I did. He said, leaving every sort of nuance, if you can, aside, maybe what's in your own heart. And I did actually, after consideration, say, I still think the World Championship should stay at the Crucible. And that was honestly, I think Roddy said most people did say that. I did also, I think point out, however, that in the pullout, very good pullout, that the I think it's a Daily Star that do it for the World Championship. It was noticeable that most of the old timer type people, being them players or journalists, they were saying, "Stay." This is only just an anecdotal thing from one newspaper pullout, but a lot of those younger ones that seen 20s, 30s, they were like, that obviously hadn't built up quite the number of memories. They were like, well, and plenty of them were taking the more practical view. Yeah, it's been great, but sport moves forward and that. But I must admit, I did say I still think it should stay at the Crucible. So I suppose my wish is that it does get that stay of extension. An extension that it might not be long term, it might be for a while, but I'm hoping that will probably be the news. And that's a very traditionalist one to say, but that's probably what I would go with.
Yeah, I'll back you on that. I think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I think those youngsters, as you say, they've not got the memories built up. And I think it's difficult if you've not played there a couple of times and you've not experienced it. It's easy to say, "Oh, it's got to go somewhere bigger. It's got to do this. It's got to do that." But I think once they get there and they experience it, particularly when you get to the one table, I think they'll change their tunes. They'll be like, "It's difficult. It's tough and it's tight and it's a squeeze, but there's nothing like it. There's genuinely nothing like it." So.
And you know more than most. You sat through every ball of the tournament.
Every ball of the tournament. It stays.
Well, it's been brilliant. Wrap it up by all sort of saying our farewells, but thanks to Jennie and Chloe. Continuing good luck with the wine rack throughout the year. And I know, Phil, we don't need luck for Talking Snooker, do we?
You can have some.
We'll have some if anyone's flown him out. But no, that's been real fun. Thanks a lot, ladies. That's been brilliant. And echo Nick's thoughts there. Don't think you guys need luck either, but you're doing a great job. So keep it up.
Thanks, and thank you very much for having us. Hopefully, it's a tradition. You get some good listening figures, and we'll be back to darken your doorstep next Christmas, like the ghosts of Christmas past.
And of course, I'm being flippant. We need an awful lot of luck on this podcast, certainly technology-wise, that's for sure. Although we seem to have done a right, touch wood. Might go on the last few seconds, but held up remarkably well for a four-way. Very impressive, I'd say.
Yeah.
So we maybe finish by saying all of us, if we can. There's someone's work. We've done them with Dave, Phil. Someone's a bit of a mess, but who sort of cares? Maybe Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from all of us.
Can we go for it?
Try it. Yep.
We can try. So that was, everybody, the Snooker Podcast Christmas special for 2025. Thank you on behalf of all our listeners, of course, at Talking Snooker, for listening to us throughout the year. And I know you'll continue to enjoy us and continue to enjoy the wine rack. And we really appreciate your company for over 2 hours. And we hope it's providing some nice listening for you over this Christmas and New Year period. And now from all of us, we'll say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and sign off.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.